everyone, this is Dr. Stephanie Wall, the Tower of Power. I am thrilled to be your host for SuccessFest 23. It's time to kick off an incredible 3 days of learning and growing. As your host for this event, oh fire! I'm so excited to have you here with us as we embark on a journey of self-discovery, personal growth, and success. I know that if you're here today, it's because success is important to you. You want to make a difference in the life and the lives of others. You have dreams you hope will come true one day. And today is the first step towards making them a reality. At SuccessFest, we are here to inspire, empower, and to reach our goals. We will celebrate successes, learn from our failures, and grow as a community. By the end of this event, I know that you will be equipped with the skills, strategies, and knowledge to help you reach new heights and success and satisfaction. Whether it's finding clarity around your purpose or uncovering unknown talents. We are all here to help each other to reach our full potential. So let's get started. Welcome to SuccessFest 23. Let's make it count. Let's go, let's go. Ooh. Yes.
Well, hey, everybody. I'm here tonight with Adrienne Allen. Miss Adrienne Allen. She's speaking at SuccessFest. Welcome, Adrienne. We're excited to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So let me ask you, what's been your biggest obstacle to overcome to be a part of SuccessFest?
I want to say that it's me. That self-sabotage. The thing that tells me that I don't belong. The thing that tells me that you can't do it. You shouldn't be here. This is not a message for the world. But I bless God for the fact that, through all the obstacles, through all of the sabotaging, I'm still here. I'm still standing. I'm still there. And I got a word. So I believe that was my biggest obstacle.
So it sounds like serving others is really what you're here to do. What about you makes you want to serve other people?
Well, because of the fact that within the last 12 years, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I literally had to learn how to do life again. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to laugh again. And to me, when it comes down to career, that's the only thing that I've done for as long as I've done is be sick and know how to still maintain, know how to show up, know how to be the best that you can be. You don't have to be sick and look sick, So I became an example of I have MS, but MS doesn't have me. And no matter what you're going through, there's always another way through.
So if there's something that you wanted somebody to take away from your message when you speak to them, what do you want people to walk away with after they hear your message? What do you want them to walk away with?
That they can do it. No matter what, no matter how it looks, no matter where they think that they are right now, it's all in the plan. We don't know God's plan. We can just live it. So we have to trust the plan. And when we trust the plan, it all works out. My line is stay in the boat. No matter what you do, stay in the boat.
Wow, that's powerful. I'm excited just talking to you and interviewing you tonight. So listen, everybody, Adrienne Allen. You don't want to miss her because she's got a powerful message and a powerful word just for you. All right. Well, thanks so much. Appreciate you so much. And welcome again.
Thank you so much. Stay in the boat. Stay in the boat. regardless of how I was to say it to you today, I need you to understand that it is imperative that you stay in the boat. With all of the things that are happening today in this world, we can get caught up in looking at what it seems to look like. And it looks like demise. It looks like people are dying senselessly every day. Our children are dying. Our children are dying before they even have children. So if you have eyes, you can see it. If you have ears, then you can hear it. And if you're left to your own devices, you will feel it. But I came to tell you that no matter what, stay in the boat. Now, they say that a rising tide raises all ships. And by a show of, put some ones in the chat if you really know what that actually means. Now, some of us have heard of it, some of us haven't. But for everyone's sake, I'm going to laugh. Let's just say, don't quit. Stick around. See what's happening around you. But regardless of what you do, make sure you stay in the boat. I'm reminded of a time when I was actually in school. And I knew for a fact that I was in the wrong class. I was doing something that I had no idea what to do. And all I wanted to do was quit. Every day, I said to myself, this is not for me. That sabotager, that self-sabotager came along and was just like, this isn't for us. Okay, maybe we should get sick and stay away for the week. I'm so glad that I didn't, because regardless of how I really felt, I went to class every day. I took notes, and I took more notes, and I took more notes. But one day, all of it made sense to me. And that was the day that I realized, wow, things are looking up. But I would not have known that had I not stayed in my boat. Now, each one of us has an individual journey that we are on. So the reason why I say stay in your boat is because regardless of how you're going to travel, 9 out of 10 times you want to do it on the boat because you can get further in the water, but the water sometimes can be rough. So it's easy to want to jump. It's easy to want to bail. But what we have to do is we have to make it to the other side. We got to keep going. So what I did was I dimmed it in 7 simple steps. I named it What It Is to Survive. Now, if you're a note taker, that's an acronym. We're going to use an acronym. SURVIVE. And if you're not a note taker and you're just listening to me today, then let's walk with me and talk with me, because this is going to be the new roadmap. This is going to be a new way of life for many. Some might be able to just tuck it away and keep it away for safekeeping. But whatever you do, these are all ways to help you stay in your boat. So for S, it's all about the story. The story you tell yourself versus the story you tell others. Because unfortunately, what happens is you have this story in your head, but because the story is not really real, it's really hard to manifest anything out of it because it's not a true story. So the first thing you want to do is be truthful about the story. But then once you are telling the truth about the story, it helps you understand, which makes the you. Understand. You must understand why things happened the way that they did. You might not be able to pinpoint exactly what went wrong, but you will understand how it went. You will understand how you stayed in that situation or how you got out of that situation. The point of it is, regardless of the story, you have to find understanding. Now, if you're anything like me, sometimes you understand it and you really want to get it do-over. I wish I could do that over. Unfortunately, you don't get another shot to do anything over. But this R can be used as a rewind, as a replay. What if you had not done that thing? Or maybe if you had done it differently, things would have been different. Or maybe if you had just kept walking, See, we all get an opportunity to look at it. So once you tell your story and you can understand your story, and when you're replaying that story, now the blessed part about it is now, let's say you want to change characters. I'm the person, I wanted to change characters. I wanted to pick the other one, not this one, because this one hurt my heart. So I figured that other one might have did me better. That moves you into your view. You get to look at this story, look at it different, figure it out and say, what if that had not happened? Would it have been better this way? And as you're viewing your story and you're looking at it, you really have to then ask yourself, would you have ended up in the same spot by doing something different? A lot of us have to understand that that is what it's all about. Now, in my book, Surviving Tough Times, On Your March, Get Set, Go, we actually touch on a lot of the reasons of why we do the things that we do. But it's all about the understanding of really why God made us. And with the better understanding of why God made you, it helps you appreciate the next man, especially the ones that you really know nothing about. Because after you actually look at your story, you told your story, you understand your story, you replayed that story, and now you're viewing that story. The next step is illuminate, shine a light on it, shine a light on it. That's the new birthday song. But it's as simple as a new birthday. Shine a light on it. Let you see it how God intended for it to be. Wow. You mean to tell me the things that I went through are things that I went through because those are the things that made me me? Exactly. And if I was able to keep anything in the dark, by the time you shine the light on it, everything's coming out. And that's the blessing. Then you can actually look at what it is that you're dealing with, and you can see the people that you're dealing with. You can see them for who they really are. And then you can bless God for the whole entire thing. Because whether it was good, bad, happy, or sad, it's exactly where you were supposed to be for right now in this moment. That's why I came here to tell you that no matter what it looks like, you gotta stay in the boat. Now, after you shine the light on it, the next two steps are very simple. V and E. Value everything. No matter what it was, no matter how it affected you, you have to find the value in it. Love everything about it. The good days, the bad days, the hills, the valleys. Make sure that whatever you do, you are grateful for all of it. So if I was to wrap it up for you and say, how could you end up staying in the boat through all of these tough times? I'd say, tell the story. Tell the honest story. Understand that story. Rewind that story. View that story. Illuminate that story. And then value everything. Now, I remember in 2010, life was going good. I just knew I was just where I needed to be for the rest of my life. This is going to be the rest of my future. I knew it. Good money, good cars, good friends. And then all of a sudden, I got sick. And not a sick like a good sick, because I didn't even know what was wrong with me. So at the end of the day, I wanted to quit because there was nothing else to do but roll over and quit. But that's when I realized I can't quit. I can't give up now. I got to keep going. I got to stay in my boat. People were telling me, oh my gosh, what's wrong? What's wrong? When you find out what's wrong, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't claim it. Don't do this. Don't do that. I was later diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It changed my life completely. And everyone told me, don't claim it, don't claim it, don't claim it. I had one pastor come to me and tell me, I need you to claim it, my dear, because God gave it to you. And God gave it to you because you were the strongest person to have it. And this is why I can stand here with you today and let you know that regardless of what it looks like, regardless of how you really truly feel, no matter what, it is imperative that you stay in the boat. My name is Adrienne Allen, and I am the author of a book called Surviving Tough Times. On your march, get set, go. It is the call that is like no other. It's the call that says that you can stand next to each other and we can do this march together as one. No pick, no race, no color, no creed. It's all in the way that we breathe, the way that we move and we have our being. And our children's children's children need to be seen. We are the examples of what it looks like and what it means to survive. And the reason why we are surviving is so that we can thrive. I want to thank you so much. Make sure, whatever you do, you remember, stay in the boat.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cynthia Owsley-Gary, and I am a speaker at SuccessFest 23.
All right. Hello, Cynthia. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am fantastic. We're excited to have you here. And Cynthia, what is the title of your keynote?
So the title of my keynote is Overcoming the Challenges of Life.
Oh, wow. Overcoming the challenges of life. So that begs the question, what has been your biggest obstacle that you've had to overcome?
One of my biggest obstacles that I had to overcome was fear. Fear stopped me from doing so many things earlier on in life. So that is the biggest obstacles that I had to overcome was fear.
Okay. So by overcoming your own obstacles, what makes you want to help other people overcome their obstacles?
The reason I want to help other people overcome their obstacles, I believe that I am called to help people to become better, to help people change, to help people make a difference in their life, to help people to become all that God has called and created them to be by helping other people overcome the struggles that they may be facing in life that is hindering them from fulfilling their God's divine purpose, for fulfilling their purpose in life, the things that God has called them to do. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So after meeting with you, working with you, what do you want them to take away? What do you want them to be able to start doing?
And so what I want people to start doing, I want people to believe in themselves. I want people to believe that they can do and become all that God has called and created and designed them to be. I want people to understand that they have a true identity, the identity that was uniquely made in the image of God. And so I want people to know that in spite of their struggles, in spite of their dark moments in life, they can overcome any challenges of life if they put their hope in God, their faith in God, their trust in God, and not give up and without wavering.
Okay, fantastic. So everybody wants to leave a legacy. Everybody wants to be remembered for something. What is it that you want people to remember you as and how you had an impact on the world?
And so I want people to remember me, that I am a woman who have faced difficult moments in her life. I'm a woman who had many scars, a woman who was wounded so many times, a woman who was rejected and betrayed, lied on, mistreated, a woman who almost contemplated suicide because of the dark moments, the struggles she had in her life. And so I want people to remember, if I am able to overcome the struggles of life, you are also, they are also able to overcome the struggles in life if they put their hope, their faith, their trust in God, and do not waver. Stay connected to the vine. The vine is Jesus Christ. Don't let go of his hand. Don't stop, don't quit, and just continue to do better through prayer, fasting, reading the word of God. That is where you pull your strength from. That is where you get the medicine from. It's from the word of God. So I want people to know that I am that girl, who almost gave up, but because of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and by his grace, I made it through.
Right. Fantastic. We're excited that you're a part of Success Fest, and I know that the audience is going to be blown away with your message. So thanks again for your participation, and we look forward to hearing you very, very soon.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Continued success.
Hello, everybody. My name is Cynthia. I am the CEO and founder of God's Divine Purpose for Your Life. I am a certified life coach. I have a degree in biblical studies. I'm the author of 7 books, and I plant seeds of positivity and growth in the lives of all people from all walks of life. And so today, what I want to talk to you about is how to overcome the storms of life, to help strengthen you when you are faced with troubled times. Many times we don't pay attention to what might be the very problem that is hindering us from walking in our destiny. With that being said, begin looking at yourself. Do some research about yourself and examine yourself. Find out what it is that's causing you to be unaware of obstacles. The enemy's job is to destroy the air you are breathing and stop you from functioning. If you stop functioning, you will also stop growing and be unproductive. This will lead you to move in different directions that God has not planned for you. And we all know that trials and tribulations, they are not going anywhere. We are living in troubled times. And we know that obstacles, they are imperfections that can weaken our mind, our body, our soul, and our spirit. So how do we deal with these obstacles when God is trying to build up our temple? How do we deal with these obstacles when they are trying to destroy the very temple that God wants to build up, that God wants to use, that God wants to develop and mature, that God wants to use for his purpose? How do we deal with these difficult storms of life? How do we respond to these storms? And so when you are going through troubled times, what is your response? Do you want to throw in the towel? Do you want to give up? Do you want to quit? Do you want to contemplate suicide? Do you go to a place of stress and depression? Do you go to a place of silence? Ask yourself these questions. When you are dealing with the storms of life, what do you do? Or do you believe that God has given you every spiritual blessings in the heavenly realms to help you become successful, to help you to mature and grow and develop, to become all that he has designed and created for you to be? It is your choice. You have to make a decision when it comes to dealing with the difficult storms of life. And one thing I've learned is that we live to experience obstacles, and we encounter obstacles to experience life. And I wanted to share a brief story. At the age of 13, I was so sick. I was diagnosed with this disease called the meningitis. I did not understand why this great storm was attacking me. And so this meningitis led me to be in the wheelchair for 6 months. I had 2 casts on my legs. I had to learn how to walk again. I did not know my parents, but this storm was very difficult for me. It was very painful for me because I was at such a young age. I had goals, I had visions, I had things I wanted to do in life, even as a kid. And so as I got older, I had another great storm. My daughter was 2 years old. She was hit by a semi truck and they pronounced her dead. But the thing is, I had 3 principles that I always kept with me. I trust God. My hope was in God. I believe that God had a plan and a purpose for my life. And this is what I am encouraging you to do when you are going through difficulties of life. You must follow 3 principles. You must trust God. You must believe that God is who he say that he is in your life. You must walk by faith, not by sight. Faith, it is impossible to do anything without faith. And you got to believe that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You cannot give up hope. You got to be joyful and hope, patient in affliction, and you must be faithful in prayer if you want to succeed and become successful in every area of your life, because obstacles, there are imperfections that can weaken your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit. So how do you deal with these obstacles when they are trying to destroy the very temple that God wants to build up, that God wants to use? And that you must let God take total control over your life, whether it's in your relationship, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your finances. You must make a decision to let God take total control over your life. If you want to grow in the grace of God and in the knowledge of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, to become all that he has created and designed you to be, you got to let God take total control of your life. You got to walk by faith. You got to believe that he is who he says that he is in your life. You got to walk by faith. You got to have hope. You cannot give up on those 3 things, because trials and tribulations, they are not going anywhere. And one of the things that I've learned, that when people are going through difficult moments in their life, they go into a place of denial. And so when denial when you are in denial, you don't want to accept the truth about how you feel and think. When you are experiencing what you are experiencing does not exist, you don't believe it, nor is it a reality. You use this mechanism to avoid dealing with your feelings, which seems like an everyday problem in your life. And so I am coming to a close, but what I want to encourage you, to believe that obstacles may be hard to notice at times because you don't see the flaws or how they change you in your circumstances in life. They can bring you to a place of prosperity and success, or a place of failure and incompletions. Obstacles come in all shapes, forms, and fashions. They can present themselves in the form of a human being through your workplace, communication, group settings, loved ones, friends, and family. In fact, they can be dressed up in great clothing as well as be well groomed. And so I want to encourage you that if you continue to press through the hard times, through your troubled times, through your dark moments, I can guarantee you, or I can guarantee that you would not go focus on this road of giving up, this road of throwing in the towel, this road of saying that I'm quitting. I don't want to accomplish the things that God has placed in my heart to do. If you just continue to press toward the mark of the high calling of God, which is in Christ Jesus, you won't have that negative mindset, but you will want to keep pushing, to keep pressing, to keep moving, to keep, doing what God has called you to do, fulfilling every assignment that He has you on. So I encourage you on today, adopt these 3 principles: faith, have faith in God, believe in God, believe that He is who He says in your life, believe that He can do all things except fail. Hope, put your hope in God. Don't focus so much on your problems to the point you don't have faith, to the point you just don't believe, to the point you go into a place of denial, to the point you have no hope. And so you can reach me. My website is cynthiagary.com, cynthiagary.com. Again, my name is Cynthia, and thank you.
Well, greetings and welcome to SuccessFest. I am Dr. Evelyn. And Ms. Hester, would you please tell us a little bit about, first of all, introduce yourself, and then tell us about your business, the name of your business, and what it is that you do.
Oh, sure. Well, it's an honor to be here, Dr. E. I am Danya Hester. I'm originally from Florida, just relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina. I love it here. Everything but the weather, right? Florida to cold is just not a good combination. But I am the founder of From Princess to Queens, a nonprofit organization for our girls ages 5 to 18. And what we do is we teach them to be self-sufficient leaders and change agents to change their communities. In addition to that, I'm also the founder of the Knowledge Bar, which is an online bookstore. Hopefully we'll be coming into a brick and mortar soon. It's a place where collectives can kind of meet and have conversation and exchange ideas about different books and how it's helped them over the years. Okay. And lastly, I'm also the founder of Prestige Academy of Autism and Special Abilities. My son has autism. He was diagnosed a few years ago. And I knew that I wanted to be able to offer parents something different, a different way of teaching our babies and inspiring them to tap into their God-given gifts. So Absolutely. That is what I do. That is my purpose. And that's why I'm here.
And you have a full plate. I know that you are probably taking B12 and all kinds of vitamins.
Well, he keeps me going alone. So, it's never a dull moment with him, I swear.
I am sure. But that is such a blessing because sometimes information in our community is scarce. And it's really wonderful to see someone with your energy and your personality that can help parents navigate and offer something that helps our children to just be their best selves.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a bit scary when you first get that diagnosis. So I want to make sure that I'm there to kind of coach them through the process.
Absolutely. That's wonderful. So now with SuccessFest, how do you see it being beneficial to helping you get your word out?
Well, it provides us a platform, a platform to be able to share our stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly, that kind of all, is a part of the process of who we are and, where we're going. So to be able to share my story with other like minds and create a community of people is great. And then also, for people who are not necessarily a part of the success speaker part, but they come in and they get a word, I think that our individual stories can inspire them. To continue. You never know what someone's going through is the new saying that people say now. And to be able to provide a story that can kind of ignite something within someone is really a amazing thing.
Absolutely. So now, when you first got started, when you decided you wanted to be an entrepreneur, what types of, I would say, obstacles or barriers did you have to overcome to really get on solid ground?
Yeah, I've always been a pretty ambitious girl, so I thought I always knew what I wanted, right? And as I've gotten older, I realized that sometimes what we want or what we think we want is not necessarily what God has for us.
Absolutely.
And so I actually started this educational process with my mom over 10 years ago. We started a school together called Prestige Academy and Beautiful Mind and Soul Leadership Academy. And unfortunately, due to finances, we had to close down shop. And that was probably the most devastating thing. This was before I became a mom. So those kids were my babies, and to having to step away from something that I thought God had, put in my heart to do, was just a little disheartening. And then I gave birth to my son and I realized it was a lot deeper. It was something else. It was the same thing, but a little bit deeper that I needed to do. And so sometimes we have to be able to understand that, failure is just merely redirection and accept that and kind of move forward. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So now here you go. You're getting ready to do a presentation on SuccessFest. You got your recordings done. You're just getting ready to let us know all about the things that you're doing. And if you could give like one piece of advice to an up and coming entrepreneur, what would that be?
I would say, listen to life's whispers. Understand that, you don't know it all, though you have a core feeling, a core belief, right, on where you're supposed to go. But sometimes life may take you somewhere else. So be open to that. Be open to go with the flow, literally. Because sometimes we kind of limit ourselves with, no, it's supposed to be this way, but it may be something much bigger. So I would say, listen to life's whispers, listen, to take all of those things that you think are mistakes or failures, add them to your toolbox and pull them out when it's necessary and needed, for the next trials and tribulations that are going to come. Everything is never going to be smooth sailing. It's going to be ups and downs, just like the stock market. And you have to be able to flow with that. So
that is a very good example to use. That's a very good example, because that ebb and flow either makes money or doesn't. And sometimes even on the downside, somebody's making money.
Exactly.
So there is success even when things are down.
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
Well, we really are looking forward to your presentation and your participation with SuccessFest. And we want to thank you for being able to come in as a speaker and inform, because information is the key to freedom. When you don't know which path to take. Exactly. And so the more knowledge we have, the better we are.
Yes, applied knowledge is power. Not knowledge, but applied knowledge.
Absolutely. My grandmother used to tell us that knowledge means nothing if you don't share it.
Exactly.
And that's how we grew up. So that's very important. And it's wonderful to see you in that space and claiming your space. One last question. How do you think that what you do, how do you think it makes the world better?
Well, I kind of march to the beat of my own drum. And so I don't have that hive mind concept. And I think to have an individualistic thought process on how I approach things and to be able to inspire our kids to tap into who they are and to drown out all the noise, because social media is taking over, right? And everyone wants to be like someone else. But what you have is important and is necessary and needed. And so I have the ability to help our kids horn in on what their talents are and to be able to give that to the world. And I think the next generation we worry about. But if they're under the guidance of Miss Hester, you don't have to worry about them. They're gonna know who they are and know what it is that they're here for and be able to share that with the world. So that's kind of my gift, and that's what I hope to see them as they grow.
Well, that definitely makes the world a better place. We want to thank you again, and I'm just really happy that I had an opportunity to speak with you before your presentation. So enjoy, and we look forward to seeing what you have to say. Thank you for being a part of SuccessFest.
Greetings, everyone. I am Deonya Divine. I am the founder of From Princesses to Queens, as well as Right to Reign, the podcast. And today I want to talk to you all about where success actually comes from. Earl Nightingale says that success is merely one's finding themselves. A successful life is simply being able to overcome life's obstacles without losing your esteem on your goals. So I want to start by telling you a little bit about my story. As I said, I am Deonya Divine, and I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida. I've recently relocated to Charlotte, North Carolina, so I'm excited to be here. My story starts way back in 2008. I was an undergrad, graduated with my degree in business management, and then went on to complete my master's degree and receive my MBA. I decided that I wanted to open up a school, a private school. My mom has already been in business for ever since I can remember, and I knew that I had something that I wanted to give back to our youth. So me and her together founded Beautiful Mind and Soul Leadership Academy in Jacksonville, Florida. It was amazing. For once in my life, I felt that I was living out my dreams. I was doing what I was destined to do. I was doing everything that God put me on this earth to do. And then, of course, the challenges. Yeah, the challenges came, knocked me off my pedestal. And I actually had to close the school because of some financial issues. I was lost. I was confused. I was angry, really, because I felt that I had to start all over. Why would God take something away from me that was so profound in my life, that meant so much to me? I didn't understand. I was confused. And then I went to the doctor and they told me I was pregnant. Now I'm really confused. What are the odds that I'm closing a school, a private school? And not only was my private school a small, structured, loving environment, but it was geared towards kids with special needs, with learning disabilities, kids who just didn't do well in the traditional school setting. And I just knew that that was going to be where I was going to be for the rest of my life. And now this doctor is telling me I'm pregnant. I'm going to give birth to a child. How is this even possible? And I remember hearing a still voice, and it said, I need all of your attention. I had to take that away from you because this child is going to require everything from you. And I want you to have that ability to give him that. And so fast forward, Ramses Knowledge Williams was born, and a healthy, beautiful baby boy. And I was excited. I felt alive again, right? And then the doctors told me he may never speak. He may be always nonverbal. He's going to be on the spectrum. He's going to need your help for the rest of your life and the rest of his. And do the best you can. And I was not going to take that. Again, I named my son Ramses. What a powerful name. And I know he's sent here to do great things. And so after working with him and therapy and just putting him in different activities, he loves to swim. And so now he's on the swim team at the age of 6. He's still working on his verbal skills, but I realized that my child, my gift that God gave to me, was here for a special purpose. And so I was able to start up the school again, which will be opening in 2025. It's going to be the Prestige Academy School of Special Abilities. It was basically brought to me by my son. And now I understand that little kids and little boys and little girls with his on the spectrum with autism and all other disabilities and orders that people give them and limitations that they put on our children, I want to make sure that no other mother ever feels like her child is a burden, like her child will never amount to anything or her child won't be successful, because that is a lie. The devil is a lie. You know how they said that in church? The devil is a lie, and I refuse to let anyone ever feel that way. But I share that story with you to let you know that there's no such thing as failure. earlier when I told you about opening up the school with my mom and having that, opportunity to inspire their kids. And I was on cloud nine. I felt like I was doing everything I was supposed to do. And then life came. And so I'm going to rewind that back to what Earl Nightingale says is successful living is the ability to overcome obstacles and not lose enthusiasm on your goals. And yes, I did lose a little enthusiasm because I had no clue how I was going to be able to move forward and move past what I was able to do before. But now that I've been given such a wonderful blessing and I can bless so many other families, it all makes sense. And I remember Oprah saying that there's no such thing as failure, merely redirection. So it's how you look at things. Sometimes things are just not meant to be, or if they are, they're supposed to be on a greater level. And I realize that now that I have my beautiful baby boy and his elements and his special superpowers is what I call them. I can help other kids like him tap into theirs. So before I leave you today, I want to leave you with 4 key points so that you realize that everything that you need to be successful comes from within. Oftentimes when we look outside of ourselves for validation or, direction, when everything that you need is in here. So one thing that I want to leave you with is that you have to have a clear objective, a clear vision of what you want yourself to be and where you're taking your goals. And that means writing them down and making them plain, having a vision board, which I have here, with all of the pictures of things that I want to accomplish. So that's the first foremost thing you want to do is have a very clear-cut direction and objective of where you're going, because life is going to knock you around. It's going to pick you up and drop you down a couple of times. And you got to be able to get up and look at that list and know that you're still on your journey to success. The second thing is you want to have the ability to listen to life's whispers. Oprah calls them life's little whispers that guide you to where you're supposed to go. And so life's little whispers could be anything from a billboard sign to a radio ad to just a still voice in your head. You have to learn how to listen to that voice and to understand that that is what is guiding you forward. The third thing you want to have is an understanding that success is not a destination. It's a journey. It's a process. Every single day that you're on this planet Earth, you're going to be working towards your goals and working towards living a successful life. So just know that it's not just one destination. You got a lifetime to go. And the last thing I want to leave you with is the ability to appreciate and find joy in building something. Because as I stated before, success is not a destination, but it's a journey. So why not enjoy the journey? Why not enjoy the scenery? Why not take the time to bask it all in and enjoy the process of building something great? Because that's what you're on the road to do. Now, before I leave you all today, I did want to leave you with a Bible verse. Now, I am a PK. I did not tell you guys that. I am a pastor's kid. So the Bible is etched in my mind, I guess you can say. But this is going to be Luke 17:20-21. And it states, once Jesus was asked by the Pharisees when the kingdom of God was coming, and he answered, the kingdom of God is not coming with things that can be observed, nor will they say, look, here it is, or there it is. For in fact, the kingdom of God is among you. It's inside of you. It's who you are. And it's your gift that was given to you by the Creator. So don't forget to tap in and remember those 4 things that I left with you. Making sure you have that clear objective of your goals and know where you're going. The second thing is have the ability to listen to life's whispers and the wherewithal to understand that that's guidance for you. Also, you want to remember that life is not a destination. It is a journey. It's going to take a while to get to where you feel you want to go. And then when you get there, it's going to be more places you want to go. So why not enjoy the process, which is the last and final step? Take the time to enjoy the process and bask in the information and bask in the opportunity that you get to live out another day and to work towards those clear objectives that you have posted on your wall or on your board. So remember, everything that you need to be successful is within. You have it. Sometimes you have to drop things that don't no longer serve you. Toxic relationships or friendships. Jobs that take you off of your goal and don't really refuel you. Situations that just drain you. Habits that paralyze you. You got to drop those things. And once you do, you'll be able to tap within, and get to that greatness that God has designed for you. So remember, success comes from within, and you have everything it takes to get there. I want to leave you again. My name is Deonya Divine. You can always visit me or shoot me a line at deonyadivine.com, or follow my Princesses to Queens journey at fromprincessestequeens.org. Congratulations on your success.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert Benson, and I'm a military man. I spent over 20-something years in the military, and I have a great family. Well, come the time for me to get out, be it a great assignment. It's in a place that my wife and I love dearly. My kids love it. My sons, they're having a great time. White picket fence, all of that stuff's going on. It's great. Well, enter conflict in the fact that I have to find a job. Well, I get a call for a job. Well, the job is not like right around the corner. It's not an hour away. It's 7 hours away, 7 hours away. And I have to go and decide whether I'm going to take this position. Well, the wife and I, we discussed it a little bit, and you know, there's some legitimate concerns, obviously, because when you are a military guy, you have certain structures in your home. So I'm about to do something to change all that completely. So my wife and I discussed it. We decided that it's good for me to take the job. As a matter of fact, she said absence will make the heart grow fonder. So we take the position, we move on. You know, I go back and forth, you know, commuting and such, trying to maintain some level of normalcy with my kids. But as the time went on, it got a little bit more difficult to do. I was finding myself dealing with conflicts within my own family, because when I was gone, it was like I wasn't around anymore. As a matter of fact, that absence ended up being absence. It means out of sight, out of mind, versus, you know, them missing me and wanting me to come around. As a matter of fact, it got so intense at times that we really were at each other's throats. I found myself coming back and forth home. Every time I was coming home, I was having to redo or undo things that just wasn't what we agreed on. And sons and children being who they are, they know how to keep things going to where the heat's off of them and put it on someone else. Long story short, as time went by, we started getting more and more egregious situations that happened. As a matter of fact, one time when my wife and I both were away from home, my son had some kids come over, and one of them had a gun on him. This kid had a gun, and the gun went off, and it shot one of my son's real friends. As we did some investigation down the line, we didn't even know who this kid was, had never seen him before. But at any rate, this happened. There was a shooting in the backyard of my house. Thank goodness my son had learned some of the things and retained some things we were trying to teach him over the years. So he actually saved this kid's life by stopping him from bleeding out because it hit him in his leg and it hit the major arteries. I could have killed him had my son not acted appropriately. Well, yeah, that's admirable, but the bottom line is that this is a situation that should have never even happened. Well, eventually I get a chance, I get back home when all this has happened, and I try to talk to my son. I want to know what's going on. How did this come about? Who is this kid, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That including a bunch of other things that it was time for him and I to have a big conversation about. Well, this kid is the one who I see myself in more than anybody else. I see myself in him more than anybody else. I mean, this is mini me, so to speak, as they say. But anyway, he and I get to talking, and it gets cantankerous. It gets loud. He gets so angry at me that he punches a hole in the door in my house. And I was pissed, okay? I was pissed. I wanted to hurt him. But I had to take another step back, because Schroll says that life is pretty much 10% of what happens to you, and then 90% of how you respond to it. Well, keeping in mind the fact that we're African-American men, my son's African-American male, and African-American men, we're dealing with all sorts of lockouts, things as far as education. We're not getting the same education opportunities as others are. After school programs and all these things that happen for a Black man, they're kind of being left out of. But here I am in the middle of getting ready to have altercation with my son, a physical one. Never mind the fact that Black men account for, young Black men, at one time in the last couple of years, they accounted for 37% of gun violence. 37% African-American men, that's crazy. And, not to mention the situation surrounding police. Now, later on, I'll talk to you about police and how police can be good or bad. Well, actually, for African-American men, they are actually more bad than they are good. And this is something else that's going on, but yet here I am. I'm in the middle of a situation where I'm about to be violent with my son. Well, I kind of thought about things a little bit, and I had this major epiphany. As a matter of fact, all the time when I was working away from my family, I tried to do things, I improvised. I was sending text messages to them every day. And actually, over a period of time, those text messages that I put together led to me producing or writing 2 books. I wrote 2 books, and both of them are books of quotes that I was sharing with my kids. I was motivated, stoked to try to work with them a little bit more. One book is called The Book of Dad, Quotes and Antidotes for a Lifetime of Wisdom. And another one is Book of Dad 2, More Quotes and Antidotes for a Lifetime of Wisdom. Yet and still, I'm at this point where I'm getting ready to have an altercation with my son. Well, not only that, I didn't just do a couple books. I actually have a podcast, a radio show, where I talk to people about the very thing that we're talking about right now, how to get them out of these situations. Well, trust me, it wasn't something that I learned overnight. And at that point is when I realized I had to do something different. I had to step back. I took a step back, withstanding things that I just mentioned, the issues with education, with crime, and opportunities and things like this. And I realized that what my son needs right now is for me to meet him where he is. Because ultimately what I discovered was that he was just as angry, pissed, and hurt as I was about everything. And we looked at each other. There's tears in his eyes. There's tears in my eyes. I mean, I know this kid, remember? Well, at this point, I decided to do what I like to call a team mentoring workshop. And in this workshop, what I do is I equip people with the tools to deal with situations that I'm talking about right now. Because the ultimate thing is that what I want you to know is that it's normal to have those kinds of altercations within your family. It's normal. Happens all the time everywhere. The other thing is that the frustration and the anger you feel, you're going to feel that. But what I want you to feel now is motivated to go back in and revisit these situations with your family, with your children. And what I want you to do is to allow me to help you with my team mentoring workshop. So what I talked to you about today pretty much is this, is that you got to survive. I mean, when work situations come about you, there's going to be things and situations that put you away from your family. I have the tools to help you deal with that. And if you allow me, I'll share those things with you. And now let's just revisit my son, the situation where he and I were about to bump heads. And as I said before, it was an emotional time. We both had tears in our eyes. We were very upset about it, about what was going on. But the thing that I walk away from is that we looked at each other both in the eyes, and I said to him, we got to fix this. He said, yeah, Dad, you're right. You're right, you got to fix it. The first thing I asked him, I said, well, what was on your mind? What's the matter? And it was like we let the air out of a balloon. He thought, dang on, this man wants to hear what is going on with me. So the bottom line is that, yeah, we can go back to another quote and say, yeah, you can get more bees with honey. And communication is probably the best tool you're going to have in dealing with any situations. But these are the type of things that I like to share with you. And if you'll allow me to do that, I will. I'm Dr. Robert Benson, and I'd like it very much if you allow me to share my team mentoring workshops with you. Thank you. Hey, greetings. I'm Dr. Robert Benson, and I've heard it said that life, and Schroll said this, is that 10% of life is what happens to you. The other 90% is how you respond to it. Well, I'm a military guy, and I've been pretty much all over the world. My family and I, we've gone all over the place. Very structured life, and then when it's time for me to get out of the military, I go to a great place. My family goes somewhere we get settled in, and white picket fence, you name it, all of those superlatives about how great it was where we were. But I had to get a job. And in getting that job, the only thing that was really available at the time was stuff that was pretty far away from my home. As a matter of fact, I had a job that was 7 hours away. Well, that creates a little problem, if you will, because I'm a father with sons. And while I was away, instead of them missing me, it was kind of like out of sight, out of mind. I had really strange things happen. Like my son got into some situations. There was even a kid who got shot in my backyard. My wife and I both weren't home, and a kid came over to the house with my son, had a gun, the gun accidentally goes off. The only good thing about that situation was that my son had the wherewithal to save the kid's life. But that's just one of the things that happened during this time frame. Well, I need to talk to my son. So I get with him, and again, this kid is the one that I see myself in the most. And our conversation got so cantankerous and tense that he actually punched a hole in the wall in my house. I was very pissed at him, very pissed. But here we are at this situation, and I got to figure out what I'm going to do about it. Well, if you'll allow me to, I want to teach you today and show you a bunch of things to combat situations that are just like that, because it's normal to have these interruptions and interactions that are not always positive with your family. And you should feel frustrated, but what I want you to feel is motivated. And today I'm going to motivate you on how to handle those situations. As I said before, my name is Dr. Robert Benson. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is team mentoring. And it's basically team mentoring, which are tools and information needed for survival. So for a quick overview of what I'm going to talk about, I'm going to state the problem to you. Then I'm going to present some statistical data from 2 different time frames. I'm going to talk about the team approach and how mentoring and team development works towards addressing the type of problems that I just indicated to you. I'm going to identify some people who can help us and some people who shouldn't. But in the middle of all that, you're going to see that there's a group in particular that can fall and has fallen on either side of the fence. Okay, and then I'm going to talk about some national initiatives that are out there. And at the end of all that, I'm going to have you do and sign and commit by signing off a pledge to be a team mentor. And we'll summarize and conclude, and I'll share some information about you with my other stuff that I do. Well, simply put, stating the problem is that the African-American male is in a serious lockout. The urgency of now lockout crisis is something that was developed by the great Barack Obama. And some of the things that he identified in this lockout were National Assessment in Educational Progress, the NAEP. Black men tend to fall by the wayside in these types of programs. There's an early childhood education lockout. We were talking about where kids are younger, African-American men or males don't seem to be getting their attention in that area. Student-centered learning. This is where we're taking those concerted efforts to reach a student, each one individually. But that's just not happening for the African-American male right now. Well-resourced community lockout. This is huge because if you go outside your door and there's nowhere to go, nothing to do, there's no resources available for a young child, and that's definitely a playground for an idle mind or the devil. Interestingly enough, though, the other one here is this gifted, talented, and AP lockout, which is advanced placement courses. These types of courses are huge for kids to get into school because it allows them to fudge and increase their grade point averages if they're able to get into these courses. Again, the participation in this program from African-American males is pale, okay? And then, of course, the post-secondary attainment lockout, that's just simply going to college. And as we talk more about this, you're going to see that there's a disparity amongst African-Americans in this area as well. So let's just look at some data. Okay, we're going to talk and look at data from two different perspectives. One is about 10 years ago, and the other is recent. And then also after this, I'm going to explain something else to you that's going to affect these numbers. But essentially, 10 years ago, African-American males, only 53% of them were employed. And that's between the ages of 25 to 34. That's the meat of our population. Our young people who are in development stages, who are learning things. Well, if they can't get jobs, then there's a ripple effect of negativity there. Violence, African-American children alone, this is back in 2003, accounted for over 1,100 gunfire incidences, shootings, if you will. And I mentioned a shooting earlier about my son, one of his friends, crimes. For instance, another thing is that crimes, African-Americans tend to be sentenced to longer sentences. They try to couch it, or I'm not going to say they, but I'm going to say the system tends to couch these things behind the type of crime. For instance, crack cocaine. People are getting life and life sentences and very, very stiff sentences for crack cocaine versus people who use powder cocaine. They're not getting nearly as intense sentences or long. People say it's because of the type of drug. We all know that the reason why these sentences are stiffer is because they are addressing or being levied on people who are minorities in the most case. And of course, we talked about education before, and only 45% of Black men really graduate from high school. That's scary. And then Black males actually have a 32% chance of going to prison. That's another one that's scary. And Black graduation rates hover around 50 to 59%. Well, let's take a look at that same data later on, 10 years later. This data here that I have now is about from 2018-17. But the numbers are surprisingly the same. There hasn't been any changes in these, in this slope, if you will, this disparity in employment rates, graduating from college, prison populations per volume for people of African-American standing. Well, that's then, this is now. There's no change. Why is that? Well, there are some things that can contribute to the skewing of these numbers. Now, just recently, we all know that COVID was huge. We had to deal with the pandemic implications. And what that pandemic did was it literally shut everything down. So you're talking about a fractured and damaged system that's basically been shut down. So quite naturally, things are negatively going to get exasperated. So we talk about the COVID shutdown. I mean, there was no sports, there was no nothing. I think that allowed the idle problems to surface. I mean, let's look at what happened in January, the January 6th insurgents on the White House. I beg to, I submit to you that the reason why that was able to go on at the magnitude and the level and volume that it did was because people didn't have anything else to do. So, but along those lines with the COVID situation is that we are still in recovery. We have not fully recovered from the crafts or the situation surrounding COVID. And for that reason, numbers are skewed. We're going to have inaccurate numbers or numbers that need to be factored or have some asterisk by them that indicates COVID. Now there is absolutely a new norm that new norm is that nothing is normal anymore. We're constantly trying to adjust. And just yesterday, I know of positive COVID cases that are still occurring. And of course, as I said before, when you're talking about people who can't work, they don't have anything else to do, there's an exponential hike in crime, which is really amazing to me. So, but, all right, so now that's the problem. We know that we're an underserved community. So how are we going to address this? But let me share something with you real quick though, is that for years when I was a kid, I was a young person, the one thing that I really wanted to do was I wanted to be a professional basketball player. Well, the problem with that is that I sucked at basketball, but I'm not a very big guy. So what I had to do was I met some people who talked to me and advised me on different things. What I meant and what I talked to was a mentor. A mentor is someone who teaches and gives advice to a less experienced and often younger person. Mentors aren't in control really as to who sees them as mentors. As a matter of fact, to be a mentor, all you really have to do is live and lead by example. And the reason why I say that is it's very important because we know that there are people out there who see us as either what to do or what not to do. And that's what mentoring is living that life and being an example for somebody. But I'm going to quote an organization that I was with years ago that addressed what I see mentoring as. It's every man, get a man, recruit, reclaim, and retain. And that's what mentoring is. It's grabbing the coat, pulling the coat, as I like to say, of a young person that you see heading in a direction and put them on the right path. And they don't have to necessarily be heading in a bad direction. You're just going to help them get further along to where they are. So this mentoring thing, what is it? What are we talking about here? We're talking about training. We're talking about coaching. We're talking about providing advice, being that example or that shoulder for somebody to come and talk to. But essentially what mentoring is, excuse me, mentoring is about communication and relationships. The better you communicate, the better your relationships are going to be. I'm going to go back to my son's situation. At that one point where I was at this, what am I going to do? I was at a crossroads. I had to remember two things, relationships and communication with him subsequently. But to go back to mentoring, we all have it in us. It's something that we all are able to do and have done, whether we did it intentionally or not. But there's no real special training required to be a mentor. You just need to have a desire to lead and influence. Share your experiences. Teach proper etiquette. Lead by example. And as I said before, you are probably a mentor to someone now and didn't even know it. But to teach proper etiquette, that's going to spin us off into some different stuff here we're going to talk about. Because the way a person conducts themselves in a lot of situations can either de-escalate a situation or make it worse. But let me go back to what I was talking about as far as wanting to be a basketball player. Well, I talked to a mentor, and the mentor was brutally honest with me. He said, "You're not a basketball player, but what you probably could do, because you're athletic, you're smart, you're decisive, is become a basketball referee." And that's exactly what I did. And believe it or not, I was a basketball referee for more than 20 years. And I refereed at the college level, high school, Division I college things. But again, I was able, because I was guided by a mentor, to stay close to something that I love dearly and be involved in it. So that's the kind of stuff that mentors can provide. Put you on the right path to going where you need to go. So we're talking about mentors. We got people that are stoked. They're going to help. They're going to take care of this person. Well, we've always heard the term, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to raise anybody, really. And it takes a village to get someone to a certain point, whether they are working or whatever it is. You can't do anything in a vacuum and by yourself. So let's talk about teams and how we can pull these people together for the betterment of guiding our youth. So simply put, a group is two or more individuals who share a common interest, characteristics, or whom members identify with each other for similar traits. But teams, they kind of differ a little bit, because teams, they differ in 5 key ways. Teams are for a specific reason: task orientation, independent formal structure, and formality amongst the membership, and a purpose. A team, if you will, is almost like a project management tool. What we have to start seeing is all of our kids is like a project, and put together an appropriate team to manage them from cradle to grave, or to a point we're trying to get them to. The bottom line simply is that we must become a team. Now, as we talk a little bit more about this, let's talk about teams and the different stages in teams. Teams are on a progressive trajectory about their development and what they end up being able to do. When a team first starts out, it's storming. As you can imagine the term storm, everything is just kind of chaotic and hectic all over the place. Everybody's kind of trying to figure out where they fit into this dynamic organism that's designed to help our young people. Norming. Norming is where everybody kind of getting settled. They're figuring out what their role is in this organization, this team, and what they need to do. From there, they perform and progress on to performing, where they're able to perform and do those tasks, those specific things that have been identified to exist for their existence. And of course, a journey. I mean, everything comes to an end at some point. Now, depending on what's going on with the team, they may very well recycle themselves and come back into doing what they need to do. These 5 stages are identified by Tuckman, and they're called his 5 stages of group development. But the thing I find interesting about teams is that you can always make teams sort of analogous to sports. Some of the highly functioning teams are sports teams, and we're going to talk more about that as we get into this. I think perhaps the most functional team is a family. Everybody has their role. We're all members of this team, and we have this common goal of what we're trying to do. So a family, in most cases, I would have to say in almost all cases, barring any attrition, is the first real team that a person is a part of. But let's talk about team memberships and roles and how we need to learn a little bit more about ourselves and what we need to do in this team. So let's talk about team dynamics. Team dynamics describes the behavioral relationship between the members of a group. The dynamic between them includes how they interact, communicate, and cooperate with one another. How well your team is able to do these things directly influences what it can accomplish. As simple as that. It's basically just knowing your role and understanding what that is. Now, you don't always go into a team with that mandate. So here's the way that it's fixed. These 3 things make sure a team stays the way it needs to stay or does what it needs to do. We're talking about alignment. Here, each member of the team understands the direction and goals. There's no ambiguity around what needs to be accomplished, resulting in less tension. It's true that apprehension and uncertainty make people tense. So start with clarity and alignment with a team. Make sure everybody knows. Transparency. How many times have we heard that word stated by the great Barack Obama? Transparency. Issues will come up in teams. There's no way around that. It's best to meet these head on with openness and honesty. When people think there is something to hide, they become suspicious and untrusting, which is a sure way for team dynamics to suffer. And of course, accountability. Accountability is huge because I'm gonna go back to talk about the family team again. While we're trying to mentor this young member who's a part of this team, they're still accountable for their actions, even though they're part of this team, and we have decided to take on their development. But there's still accountability for everybody who's a part of this team. And accountability, wow, the lack of it drags teams down. I mean, without it, there can be no trust. Simply ensuring that each team member is aware of their responsibility and understands the importance of following through is crucial to having a solid team. Now, let me go back to that situation with my son again. Now, he violated his rules and what his role was in that team because he did something that my wife and I asked him not to do. He had somebody at the house and we weren't there. And lo and behold, we had this catastrophic situation occur. Well, he fortunately got out of it, but we'll talk more about that entire scenario a little bit later on. So let's just talk about teams and the roles a little bit more. Basically, team roles are basically aligned by 3 things. action, people, and thinking. Action is pretty obvious. What do we have to do? We make sure people align their roles based on that action, what needs to be done. Now, the people part of it is where you get into managing relationships and the abilities of everybody to make sure that team is cohesive based on the individual. Here we're getting outside of what the task is and focusing on the people who are part of the team. I mean, everybody knows that there are folks that they probably think they couldn't work with, or would rather not, because they know what kind of person they are. And then, of course, the thinking roles. Thinking is huge because every team has a designated expert to do whatever. And that individual in that thinking role is also constantly trying to plan, make sure everyone understands things about what's going on. So now let's talk a little bit more about these teams and stuff, and who do we think, or how can we place our young people in the right environment with the right people, and who we should look to be teams with and compile these teams. Basically, they have to be positive organizations surrounded by positive activities. Now, we talk about the Boy Scouts, we talk about fraternities, we can talk about sports. I'm gonna get a little bit more in depth on sports in a minute here, but look at the slide here. We're talking about quite a few different entities that are positive that can help out with this development. This group of people we're putting together to make accessible to these young folks who need guidance. Boy Scouts is one of them. Fraternities, I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi. That's the best fraternity in the world. We'll talk a little bit more about that a bit. But sports, I mentioned before, I wanted to play basketball. I ended up being a basketball referee, but I was a part of the sport because it's something I love, because there was other things associated with being a part of a sport. Religion is huge. The appropriate spiritual grounding makes a big difference in the lives of a lot of people. Okay. But let's talk a little bit more about sports. The benefits of sports are almost immeasurable if you think about it on some levels. Basically, number one is this physical activity. And number two, we're talking about camaraderie. Even the athlete who does his thing by himself experiences camaraderie by being a part of a sport. We're talking about boxers, wrestlers, and tennis players, and people who do their thing by themselves in competition. They still are members of the team or part of something that's positive. Let's talk about accomplishment real quick. Accomplishment is huge. It is huge because nothing builds your confidence better than finishing something that you set out to do. I'll share a story about a time when I was a baseball coach. I coached my sons when they were younger, and we had a kid on the team who didn't know anything about baseball. As a matter of fact, his mom bought him a glove to cover the game for the wrong hand. You know, when you play baseball, the glove goes on your offhand. Well, he had the wrong glove on, but anyway, last game of the season, this kid was still on a team. He wanted to be a part of the team because he was a part of something. But this is the big message in this for him, is that we put him out on the field and kid gets up the bat. And I mean, he hits the ball really hard. He scorches it, but it goes straight up in the air. And I mean, it seemed like that thing was in the air for an hour. But this kid, as I said before, who doesn't know the game, he's standing there and he's looking at the ball. He's looking at it, looking at it, looking at it. And he comes down and he catches it. That's the only thing he did all year long. But everybody was ecstatic about it. It was great. He was so happy about that it went and complemented his sense of belonging, his sense of accomplishment. And that's what sports do for people. Now, certainly there's some negativity surrounding those things. And the thing about sports is you learn team dynamics. I mean, you understand you have a role. Same thing in music. You know, you've heard the same sheet of music analogy quite a bit, but it's about being a part of something positive and you seeing those immediate gratification type results. So now that we know there's some good things to do, let's step back for just a second and look at things that are possibly negative surrounding being a part of a group. Well, there's definitely negative influences. I mean, peer pressure, competition within. Now, the competition is really, really strange because it's kind of an oxymoron, if you will. You're on a team with a person who you're competing with. Well, everybody on the team probably wanted to play quarterback, but only one of them ended up being that. So that kind of competition can be negative at times. And it's a hard pill for a person to swallow when they realize, like I did, that, hey, you ain't a basketball player, man. You're a referee, or you could play something else, but definitely not what you thought you were. And that can create some conflict depending on the personality of the person impacted there. Followership can be bad because we talked about peer pressure. Those are kind of go hand in hand. Peer pressure, I mean, there's courses and volumes written on the impacts that it can have on a person's life, immediate and long term, because they don't learn how to lead. Bullying is huge in any situation because men ourselves, we're always trying to be that alpha guy or that person who is constantly in charge. Well, other people, everybody's not like that. But one thing I can assure you of is that there's always a jostling or a ranking and filing of any group of anybody that comes together. And those are some of the negative things that can come about it. And then, of course, cult-like behavior is really bad because that's when a person is completely outside of their mind, as people I know have said, to where they join an organization, they forgo everything, and they totally follow some individual organization. I love what Chris Rock said about bullying. He said people get upset about bullying. He says everybody needs a certain amount of bullying in their life. He said because he said pressure makes diamonds, not hugs. So people are under a lot of pressure constantly by these negative cautions and things when it comes down to joining organizations. So we're talking about what you should do. Let's dig a little bit now into what you shouldn't and who you shouldn't be dealing with. Because let's face it, gangs are one of the strangest entities there are. It's highly competitive within. They have a whole different set of rules to live by. And once a person becomes a part of it, they seem like they just can't get away from it. Drugs is a big problem. I'm going to talk a little bit about drugs and after I cover this next section. But hate groups are huge. I mean, imagine that at this stage in our development in our country, that we still have organizations whose sole existence is just because they don't like a group of other people. That to me is amazing that it still exists. But hate groups, drugs, and what is that last one on the bottom there? Police. Well, let me share something with you real quick here. I mentioned I like Chris Rock before, but Chris Rock said something some time ago. He said, it's been said that the Black man is an endangered species. Chris said, well, that ain't true because endangered species are protected by the government. The African-American man is not protected by the government. As a matter of fact, let's talk about the police. What's a better representative of the government than the police? Police are walking bureaucrats who are implementing policy by the very actions that they take. In its basic form, when a police officer shoots an unarmed person and kills them, they have in fact instituted the death penalty without due process. Now I know that sounds kind of far-fetched, but that is exactly what it is. Now, because of that, that puts police on the good versus bad dichotomy in either case for African-American men. Now, there's an obvious disparity in the mindset of the tensions between African-American in general and the police. Police shootings of African-Americans are documented, well documented, and are constantly a source of social and political unrest in many communities. Basically, what I tell young people and what I'm telling you now is that there's 3 C's you need to comply with when dealing with police. One of them is to communicate effectively. The other one is to cooperate and clear yourself of the situation. As I said before, communicate, cooperate, and clear. What I used to do whenever I got pulled over, I used to stick both my hands out the window of the car so that they saw my hands. Now that's extensive, but that's how paranoid you become in fear based on what you see everywhere, constantly. Basically, you have to see yourself on the other side of the encounter. Well, police aren't all bad. I know some great ones. I had an uncle that was a cop. And matter of fact, he was my football coach when I was younger. And that's what we got to get back to, that level of interaction where police are more involved and more aware of their community. But it's not all bad. Believe it or not, there are some special steps that are being taken right now in different places to improve the situation we just talked about. And I'm going to share that with you right now is that Lincoln University in Missouri, which is the HBCU, there's two Lincolns, one's in Pennsylvania, but this one here is actually in Missouri. And what they've done there is they've set up a law enforcement program, certification program, specifically designed to reach African Americans and bring their interest into being police officers. This is huge. This is huge. I actually talked about this with this gentleman on my podcast, the Book of That Radio show. It's called, his name is Gary Hill. He's the chief of police at Lincoln University. Wow. What, I mean, you're talking about taking a step to try and meet a problem head on. The type of things that this guy is teaching people is de-escalation techniques, which is very important, and community involvement. I think community involvement is probably more important than anything for a police officer. There's a term I like to use called representative bureaucracy. And what that means is that people are being represented by themselves. I mean, it's the reason why you have a rainbow coalition in Congress. Well, policing is the one area that we really don't seem to have that representative bureaucracy, because you have a lot of people in neighborhoods policing folks who they don't know. If you don't know somebody, you won't understand them either. And that's the big problem. But as I said before, this program is great. It's taking that special step to make sure that we get that interaction and people learn more about policing. So, as I said before, this puts police on both sides of this dichotomy. They're good for us, but they're also bad because of some, the history speaks for itself. So basically where we're at this point now is we're talking about teams. We're talking about mentors coming together to guide the activities and actions of our young youth, our young men. Now, let's talk a little bit about drugs. Oh my God. If you don't want to mess with the cops or have them after you, stay away from the drugs, the illegal ones. I mean, we have pharmacists who are legitimate and make good money. I mean, the drug industry is in the billions, so there's money to be made, but street pharmacy, on the other hand, is a problem because it creates addiction. It sets people up for trafficking. And there's entirely different rules for drugs on the street. We talked about gangs and other things. I have a young cousin who was killed because she had something that belonged to somebody, and she either didn't give it back to him or didn't pay for it to him. And this individual killed her instantly. And she thought that this guy was a friend. Now, here's the problem with it, though, is that it never really was proven who did it, or he wasn't ever really brought to justice, but everybody knew who it was. But the other characteristics of why you shouldn't deal with drugs are obvious. The risk of life involved with it. These days, they got so much designer stuff out there that if you take one puff or swallow one pill, you could be dead. Simple. We have to get out there and mentor our young folks and keep them away from these drugs, the addiction. Don't traffic it. And keep them away from the street rules, because it's totally different. And community destruction just goes without saying. I mean, inner city America has been decimated by drugs. I mean, where I grew up, I can't even walk down the street in some of the places where I'm from. All the shops and stores are chained up and glass all over the place. You can't even walk in the door, but that's the community implication for it. Okay, so now we're at this point where we're talking about what we need to do to fix the problem. We're talking about the tools that we just provided you to make these things work. Now, a lot of this stuff is local, but there have been some national initiatives that come about that have people really go out and try to reach this demographic and try to stop this self-destruction that we're dealing with. One guy in mind for me that comes to mind is Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy, if you're a football fan, you know who he is. One of the great coaches and one of the great personalities, if you will, in professional sports. He was the first African-American to win the Super Bowl as a head coach. But the thing that's significant about Tony is that his son committed suicide. Now, I don't know about you, but motivation for just about anything seems to would have to severely wane if that was to happen. I see these kind of things and I realize that, you know, we have to take the special steps and realize, and I say all that to say that Tony has instituted, and he's a public speaker. He's done a lot of different programs specifically designed to reach African-American youth. And this picture here is just a coaching book that he has. Because again, it ties back into what I was talking about before sports, getting people to do things together, being a part of something. Well, Kappa Alpha Psi, as I said before, is the greatest fraternity on earth because I just happen to be a member of them. But seriously, we have the Guide Right program. And I know all of the other fraternal organizations that are out there have similar programs. We need to bring those up to light. People need to see a whole lot more of them on a different level. And then, of course, the great former President Barack Obama and his initiative. But Barack was so, I mean, he was so far ahead of his time, in my opinion, because he knew how to reach everybody, you know. But let me just quote him here on what he said here, stating the obvious. I didn't have a dad in the house, and I was angry about it. Even though I didn't necessarily realize it at the time, I made bad choices. I got high without always thinking about the harm it could do. I didn't always take school seriously as I should have. I made excuses. Sometimes I sold myself short. Wow. And that statement is what I saw was a problem with my son. I wasn't around. He had followed and got into the wrong mentors. He started seeing the wrong people as mentors. And when you do that, misery loves company and things come together and it gets worse. But anyway, long story short, this initiative was Barack's $200 million 5-year My Brother's Keeper to help Black youth. And he was stoked or pegged to do that, if you will, by the infamous Trayvon Martin situation. Okay, so we're talking about national initiatives, and there's a lot of different things we can do. Me personally, this workshop is what I'm doing to get you to understand that we need mentors. We need people to come together as teams, and we need to make concerted efforts to reach this population. We can't turn our back on them no more. Hence, I came up with this acronym. It's Team Mentoring, which is the name of the course, workshop. But together, establishing an affirmative mantra to minimize efforts and negative tactics organized regularly in opposition to the Negro male group. Wow. And I don't want to sound like I'm prejudiced or I'm isolating one particular group, because what we're talking about here can help everybody. But at this particular point, I want you to focus in on us rescuing this perceived extinct population. So let's go over some sources real quick. Where I got this information, how do I know this? The urgency of now is a Barack Obama thing. This Black Chicago is a document that really talks about a lot of these issues that the African-American male faces. And something that Jimmy Carter said some time ago was that African-American men are 5 times as many Black men in prison than when he left office some time ago. So basically what he's saying is an escalation of prison population for African-Americans while he was in office. Some other places that provide good data is the Brookings Institute in Raleigh Bright. Beth Osborne is who I got a lot of the information surrounding teams about. Okay, so now we've gone through all this. I've talked to you about what you need to do, how you can become a mentor, get teams integrated, team dynamics and all that stuff. So now what I want from you is a commitment. I want your commitment to go in there and fix things with our young youth, with our Black men. So here's the oath. It says, I take this oath with the goal of becoming the best mentor and mentee I can. I pledge to remain humble, open-minded, and to honor the legacy of the mentors and mentees who have come before me by paying it forward in the same communicative tradition. I recognize my duty to adapt to the dynamic landscape of social interaction and to the tremendous growth in community peace. I pledge to help everyone entrusted to my care to the best of my ability, in line with the founding principles of Team Mentoring Initiative. I recognize that my treatment of contemporaries, peers, assignees, and general public should not only reflect my general knowledge, but also the art of respect and dignity suitable for a well-groomed gentleman. I need your signature. I need your commitment. Here it is. So we're at the end of this thing here. A couple of things going back. I'm going to briefly go over what I talked to you about. I stated the problem. The problem was pretty obvious. We're in lockout mode. I presented you two different data sets statistically that really were no changes to, but I also added a caveat in there surrounding COVID as to why things aren't the same, but they don't seem to be getting any better anyway. So we talked about the team approach, and I talked about how mentoring and teaming together will fix the problem of working with our young youth. We identified two groups and two things that people should do or deal with or who they shouldn't. And ironically and perplexingly, police are in the middle of that for African-American men. They're in the middle of it right now. We discussed some some national initiatives about Barack Obama. We talked about Tony Dungy and of course my acronym and this workshop that we're doing. We took the pledge, okay? So, as I said before, I am a podcast host. I talk to people about these very things all the time on my podcast, the Book of Dad radio show. And I've written a couple of books, the Book of Dad Quotes for a Lifetime of Wisdom and the Book of Dad 2, More Quotes and Antidotes for a Lifetime of Wisdom. I provide a lot of stuff to you and have provided a lot of stuff to you today to assist with mentoring our young folks. Now, let's circle back to my son. I am at the point where I'm tears in my eyes. He's got tears in his eyes. We're very upset. And some of the things that have happened, I'm sure you would be too, trying to get a handle on what's going on in your family and your life. But we both looked at each other, and when I saw that emotion in his face, he saw the emotion in mine. One thing we realized was that we both felt the same way, but we definitely love each other. And violence between us was not an option. So what did I do? I became his mentor. I reached out to him. I met him where he was. The tools in this workshop will allow you to do the same thing. I'm Dr. Robert Benson. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I am here with Mary L. Beal. Mary, tell us a little bit about what you do.
What I do is I assist families. I assist families in two areas. I also assist individuals and nonprofits. But my main services include health and wellness advocacy and estate planning. And the reason I got involved in those, they affect all families, whether they know it or not. So I can touch basically everybody in the family through both of those services.
Awesome. So with those two services, in just any entrepreneurial journey, you got to have some things that come up. So what has been your biggest obstacle to overcome in your entrepreneurial journey?
My biggest obstacle is people maintaining schedules, maintaining appointments, and doing follow-up. That has been my biggest headache because in order to assist, you need information. And if people do not share that information in a timely manner, it makes it difficult to assist them.
And how have you overcome those obstacles?
By joining SuccessFest and getting some tips. This is one thing that's helping me. And having a system. The other way I received some help is by soliciting the help of others to help me do some of the mundane tasks so that I can spend more time with the customers.
Awesome, awesome. And so for those you serve, why did you choose to help others become successful? Why did you choose these areas?
I chose these areas because, see, I had retired. I had one career, and retiring and having a lot of time and a lot of work experience, a lot of life experience, a lot of mentoring, because I got mentoring at an early age, not just from my mother, but from outside of the home. So I had different views. So I could share a lot of different viewpoints with individuals. And because being a member of a large extended family, I had knowledge and skills that I had not tapped into. So, and I was able to bring them out, share them with others, and to help them grow and empower different people to achieve success in various areas.
Awesome, awesome. So as you help people, what is your biggest hope for those that you're called to serve?
My biggest hope for them is to, first of all, empower themselves. You see, I've had a great life, and I want to share that great life with others and say, I'm not any different from you. I just had some different mentors in my path, and I want to be that for you.
Awesome. So in doing that and sharing that and sharing your story and sharing that desire, how do you plan on making the world a better place and making people's lives better?
Well, I've already had some experience in that, and I thank the Holy Spirit for guiding me, because, see, I've worked on 4 continents. I've lived on 3. So it is through that experience and the wisdom from elders that I have gained a lot of knowledge, a lot of compassion, so that I can be compassionate with people who have been less fortunate than me, because I understand, being from a large family, that you must share. And so I can share that and do not have any regret whatsoever. I was caregiver for my mother, who lived to be 101. And I was also caregiver for a friend who just transitioned in May of this year, who lived to be 109. So with that experience, I want to just share with others.
Awesome. So as we get ready to end this interview, what are 3 words that have helped you that you can tell the audience that will be able to help them? Just 3 words.
3 words. Do not discount family. There's a lot of wealth in families.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary L. Beal, for all your wisdom and all your sharing. And I wish you great success in SuccessFest and everything and everyone's life that you impact. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Greetings. Hello, how are you? And I'm so glad to see you here today. I'm going to share with you something about the oldest organization in the world. You probably know it. You're probably a member of it. And I know you're a member of it, as a matter of fact, because I am a member of it. That is the family. I'm talking about reuniting families and restoring family values. This is a topic that has surfaced throughout the states, throughout each community, is that the breakdown on the family. Why is that? And what can we do to reunite the family and restore family values? That's what we're here for today. I am from a large extended family. And as such, I have learned a lot. As a matter of fact, because I've learned a lot, I have been elected as the family historian. And as a family historian, you hear all types of tales about family members, about discipline, about education, about careers. There's a whole host of knowledge you can gain by being a family historian. You know about birth, you know about death, you know about graduations, you know about military service. You just know so much about family history and various branches of the family. So with that, I'm going to share a short story with you. My mother was born to a large family, and so was my father. When they merged, we had a large extended family. So there's always a tale of surrounding a holiday. And the story is one of my uncles decided to play a trick on my mother and scare her. And my mother was a fierce person. She was not to be intimidated. But this particular time, her guards was off. And my uncle showed up at the door in some kind of outfit, and it scared the lights out of her. But the story is, from that, there was a long-lasting relationship developed. So you can't just take one thing that a family member does and become angry for life. So that's what I want to talk about, reuniting families. Daily, I hear of instances where family members have not spoken for sometimes years, sometimes decades, because of something that was said or something that was done, and there have not been forgiveness. So before I go into my 5 steps to reuniting family and restoring family values, I want to tell you a little bit about me. You see, I am one of 10 children. I'm the 7th born. And as the 7th born, you got it from the younger ones, and you got it from the older ones, you got it from your parents. So it makes you resilient in a lot of areas. So I'm thankful for that. But also as the 7th born, my parents had an opportunity to get a lot of experience in raising children. So by the time I came along, they were expert almost at raising children. So I got the benefit of that. I got the benefit of the encouragement. I got the benefit of the discipline. I got the benefit of just having siblings to share with and form relationships with. So this is what I want to talk about, is what separates us, because there are divided families. And as such, we need to have a course on how to reunite families. And let's look at a couple of things. I'm just say 5. Sharing. One of the things that we found in our family, and we have family history over 200 years. But what we found is that because our parents, our grandparents, and ancestors shared our history with us, it made us feel included. It made us feel special. So it gave us that sense of confidence. I also have the opposite side. I have 2 friends. I have more than 2 friends, but I have 2 friends who adopted children. And they decided not to share information about the children's biological parents. This caused friction in the family. When the children turned around 19 years of age, they found out on their own and became angry and distrustful of their adopted parents. So you see, there is some value in sharing information. As children become mature enough to understand, it's okay to share some unsavory family history or something that may be looked upon as shameful. But it's important because children want to know, where did I come from? And so be honest with them. Sharing information about various aspects of the family will cause unity in the family. I remember my mother would share with us that about being poor. She said, it's not a sin and a shame to be poor. It's an inconvenience. So look on being poor as an inconvenience, not as something to be ashamed of. Another thing that she was very strict about, and that was communication. Mother always taught us that you could not call someone out of their names. You could not speak derogatory words to them. You could not, by any means, use curse words, as we say, vulgarity. You had to speak in a loving tone to not only your family members, but to your neighbors and friends. Another thing that we were taught is that we worked together. We played together. We worshiped together. We dined together. We had at least 2 meals together. And at the dinner table or the breakfast table, there were all types of discussion, sometimes about finances, sometimes about work, many times about education. So as you can see, once the family is united in the areas that I just mentioned, there is unity. Another, and this I believe is the 5th one that I'm going to share with you, enjoy getting together with family. Family is part, as Mother said, God gave us family, and there's nothing we can do about it. So we just have to learn to work out, reconcile, forgive, and move on. So, in summary, the family, as we have seen it in recent days, according to the newspaper, there is turmoil. Mothers killing children, father killing children, father killing the wife killing husband. So we have to take an aggressive stand and recapture and reclaim our family. So that's what this is about. And we have a workshop coming up on some detailed information on how to accomplish that. One of the things that we will be talking about, what happens after reunification. So it's not an easy process, because when you have been angry or you have distrusted someone for 10 or more years, you have allowed what Mother used to tell us, don't go to bed angry, don't sleep with wrath. So you've allowed that to build up and fester. So one of the things, as I said, we must learn how to love on family, to forgive family, and to move on. Thank you for listening to my talk on the oldest organization, and join me in the workshop on reuniting families and restoring family values. Welcome to the workshop on reuniting families and restoring family values. I'd like to share with you a little information here as an introduction. Today, I will share some vital information on the oldest perpetual organization on planet Earth. One common thread we all have is membership in this organization. We may all have different levels of knowledge about this organization and its members. However, this does not cancel our membership, because membership is passed down from generation to generation. Therefore, before I begin sharing specific information on this topic, I request input from 3 to 5 members of the audience on what they expect to learn today about the oldest perpetual organization on planet Earth. I'll share with you from this perspective. The oldest organization starts with Adam and Eve, according to the Bible. But within our own organization, it starts with our parents who gave birth to us, then their parents. So it goes on and on, great grandparents, great. So for generations. So if you look at this chart, just imagine this chart multiple times going the opposite direction, and you will go back to the oldest family member recorded. Now, that's a problem for many of us because of migration, slavery, incarceration, just wanderlust. So there's a reason why some of us may not know our grandparents and great-grandparents. Even some of us don't know our parents because of adoption, because of death of a family member, and kids were separated. So there are a number of reasons. There are 4 challenges for the oldest organization: smaller families or no descendants, single parents, highly mobile descendants. In other words, at one time in Africa, you had a group of tribes that followed the season with their cattle, with their animals. So they did not stay in one place. They were called nomads. And there are some nomadic type people here today. I have been accused of being one of them. Their separation or challenges because of personal views and practices, and that impact on reproduction. In other words, abortion. There are other things that impact on the family. And they're the formation of nuclear families. In other words, multiple families come together as one. So we have a lot of challenges in this oldest organization. About your speaker, me, I consider myself a young senior citizen and an old baby boomer. And there are some characteristics of this generation of baby boomers. That was the first generations to live with a lot of affluence, live with TV, and it's one where there's been a generation gap. So as an old baby boomer, I have seen a lot, I have learned a lot, and also I was able to interact with centenarians that were born in the 1800s, because several of my mother's older sisters were born in the 1800s. My mother was born in 1910, so she was one of the younger ones. So I had a lot of interaction with the older generation. And with that, I was able to get a lot of information about the family, not only my mother's family, but when she moved to my father's family, I received information on them as well. Am I from a normal family? In the Sunday school lesson several weeks ago, I learned that normal is a misnomer for all families. This is all families are dysfunctional in one way or another. Dysfunction validates the need for family leadership. I did not grow up in a dysfunctional family. Although my father died when I was 16, my mother, who shared the family leadership role during my father's lifetime, continued until she reached the age of 101. She said, you never stop being a parent as long as you live. So she continued to be that encourager, that motivator, and that leader of the family. And with that, longevity brings about continuity, consistency, and maintaining family unity and family value. My mother always told us when she was a child and turned 12 years old, her great-grandmother was 112. So that is where the longevity comes in. So families with longevity has a better chance of maintaining family unity and passing down family values. As I told you earlier, I am the 7th child born to my mother and father. Another thing about a supportive family is it's a protective family. Your grandparents, your neighbors, your uncles, your aunt, older siblings, they all assist with educating the younger children. We also got educated in church, school, and in the home. As we ate together as family, we played together. I remember when I was about 4 years old, my father taught all of us who were in school how to play dominoes. It's a game I still love to play today at the age of 76. A protected family also shares the work. So there's hard work in keeping a family together. You have to make sacrifices. You have to share. So you get hand-me-down clothes if unless you outgrow the other siblings. But all in all, families are important. And then there's such things like global travel and work experience. I was one of the ones who had a nomadic spirit. So I've lived on 4 continents, but even there, I were able to meet families and become part of local families, and I cannot forget them. So we have what we call adopted families. We also have people in our family who we have adopted. So career and work experience is another reason that people separate or families separate. And if it's not a strong and united family, that may continue indefinite, that separation due to career and work experience. But these are some of the areas where you can find information on families. There are a number of nonprofits that work on trying to reunite families and restore family value. Family Connections is one of them. And then you got families, military. The military family is another unique group of people because sometimes there are deployments which separate them. Sometimes the family can accompany them on deployments. Other times they may not. But it takes strong family to overcome the separation. Let's look at dysfunctional families, not functioning normally. Usually the characteristics here is that here are the lack prayer and spirituality. They are missing the head. There's no leader to guide them. The head is not leading, which is the opposite. You have a head, but they are not leading. You see in some families where parents have devoted to older children to act in the capacity as a parent. And then there is no clear leadership. That causes lack of unity. And then there are situations where families do not function properly. Dysgenics means that it exerts a detrimental effect on subsequent generations. And then what happens there is you have a lack of moral foundation, lack of communication. And we know a lack of communication causes confusion, causes abuse, mental, physical, spiritual, sometimes psychological abuse in the family. These are some of the detrimental effects. Absence of wisdom. The grandparents in Florida are in nursing home. These are the things that we're seeing today. They are not in the area where the children are being raised. Children were raised on TV and electronic games without guidance. There's limited interaction with mature, responsible adults. Youth attain life guidance from peers. There's too much emphasis on materialistic values. And sometimes that value, materialistic value, may not be in the form of a material item, but a process. In other words, there's more emphasis on sports than on education. There's more emphasis on entertainment than education. So there has to be a balance. Not sufficient attention, involvement in community events. In other words, building local relationships. feeling a sense of community, not enough family involvement. In other words, we used to have family game night. And when we were younger, we would have family outings to the parks. So there are several ways that family can get together to enjoy each other company. Show me the evidence. What are the evidence of dysfunctional family in today's world? Daily, there are reports of missing kids, child abuse, family violence and domestic violence, school shootings. If you go to the juvenile courts, the juvenile crime is on the rise. School suspensions are astronomical. And here I'll stop to tell you a story. When I retired and returned back to my hometown to take care of my mother, to be her caregiver, she was not invalid or anything. She still had a lot of spunk, but we didn't want her living alone. I had too much time, so I opened a business. And as I was looking out the window one day, I see these students, which were school-aged children, walking the street. So I called to them and said, why are you not in school? They said, we have been suspended. I said, what do you mean been suspended? Several of them said, we have been suspended for the rest of the year. I say, hi, so don't you have an alternative school? They said, no, ma'am. I said, come in. I said, I can't stand to see you walking the street. So we wrote up a small grant and we started to work with kids who had been suspended from school. And the school, what I learned is that those students, they were not unintelligent, they were very intelligent, but they were not challenged. So we don't have enough activity to challenge the juvenile. Then family court. This is another area where I got involved. One young lady that I was mentoring asked me to go to family court with her. And it was considered a case of child abandonment. And I was amazed that there was no one there to claim that child. However, a great aunt from Florida heard about it and came up and petitioned the court to become the custody of this child. There are child custody battles. We hear about them all the time. Some of the missing kids are the results of child custody from one or the other parent. So these are the evidence that the family today is in trouble. My passion for families. Personal interaction with family on 4 continents through travel and work experience reveals a diversity in points of views, a need for inclusion, and expectation of equitable treatment. That is the my die. Die is a mnemonic, which is a short way of reducing 3 words, in this case, 27 letters to 3 letters or 6 computer characters. Die. Oftentimes, especially in family situations, I have learned to die to self. In other words, I have learned to put self aside to maintain family unity. In other words, we can sometimes make sacrifices to better the overall good of the family. Then a mnemonic. By rearranging these same 3 letters in military jargon, they form an IED. What is an IED? A homemade bomb or destructive device to destroy, incapacitate, harass, or distract. Now, I added something here. I said, in the civilian world, I added that an IED is an inappropriate explosive disposition. Still carries some of the same things that an IED bomb, homemade bomb, does. An inappropriate explosive disposition destroys relationship. Now, here are the 5 components of an IED. An initiator. Sometimes a parent may be the initiator with an inappropriate explosive disposition. How so? It's how we communicate. Sometimes we communicate with vile or derogatory language, even if it's a parent. That is initiating a certain type of behavior. A switch. This is not a switch that I got when I was a child when I misbehaved. This is a switch in terms of something clicks within a person when they have been spoken to in a derogatory manner or a demeaning manner. The main charge is the heart, because you're thinking that your parents should not say such ugly or demeaning words to you as a child. So, or vice versa, a child saying it to a parent. So it could be a source, the power source. What caused that? Because we have certain expectations of children. We have certain expectations of parents. And that body contains those physical triggers that will pull someone's switch. And you heard that stated. He's flip my switch. So these are components of an IED, inappropriate explosive disposition or improvised explosive device. IED or DIE in human relationship. IEDs are intentionally designed to be destructive. So are semi-automatic and automatic guns. Likewise, an AR-15s and AK-47s, they are war weapons. Are we producing human IEDs with these weapons? Practically all human interaction and relationship begin in the home amongst family members, natural, adopted, or fostered. I recall one of many poems found amongst my late mother's important papers. The poem, "Children Learn What They Live," shed light as to what could possibly create or produce an inappropriate explosive disposition, an IED, or a military-style improvised explosive device. Not surprised, IED ended. That's another part of the IED. Suicide, killing of oneself, bullying, discrimination, racism, abuse, bereavement, end of a relationship. Patricide, killing of one's father. Long-term abuse is a source of patricide. Matricide, killing of one's mother. Great turmoil between parent and child. Femicide, killing of girls or women. Current or former partners are noted for doing this. Filicide, killing of one's sons or daughter. Maltreatment. And here's the point. I analyzed this point. Children learn what they live. If children live with criticism, they learn to condemn. I label that as an IED. If children live with hostility, they learn to fight. That is also an IED. If children live with ridicule, they learn to be shy. If children live with shame, they learn to feel guilty. If children live with tolerance, they learn to be patient. If children live with encouragement, they learn confidence. If children live with praise, they learn to appreciate. If children live with fairness, they learn justice. If children live with security, they learn to have faith. If children live with approval, they learn to like themselves. And if children live with acceptance and friendship, they learn to find love in the world. And as you notice, each of these clauses I have identified as an IED or a DIE. Now, if the DIE does not take place, the reverse could happen and become an IED. Or likewise, if an IED is listed and the reverse takes place, you have a better chance of becoming a DIE, that you have diversity, you have inclusion, and you have equity amongst children. Then I said to myself, let me do a self-examination. Ready for self-questioning? Do I consistently demonstrate criticism of myself and others? Do I frequently exhibit hostility towards myself and others, and especially family members? Do I constantly ridicule myself and others, especially family members? Am I living in shame, whatever I consider shame to be, or whatever you consider shame to be? Do you consistently participate in family reunions, family gatherings, any opportunity to share with families on a positive note? Here is my call to action so that we may change this scenario. Don't let our children become collateral damage. Join me in the movement to reunite families and restore family values.
Everybody, this is Dr. Darren Robinson, and I'm happy to be at SuccessFest 23 with Sheba Simpson Amsterdam. Sheba, come up on here and introduce yourself to everybody. Let everybody know who you are, where you're from, and what do you do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sheba Simpson Amsterdam, and I'm from New York, New York. And I am an educator by day and a CEO of I'm on Assignment, Inc., which is also located in New York. And my nonprofit organization empowers marginalized communities through advocacy, financial literacy, education, as well as social justice.
Oh man, you got a lot going on. Busy, busy woman. And I guess you're from New York, New York, the city that never sleeps. So it only makes sense. So here we go. Yep. My first question for you is, what has been your biggest obstacle you had to overcome?
Professional and political sabotage. I've always been a person that served my community. As I stated, I'm an educator. I've known from a very young age that I connect to people. I have great interpersonal skills, and that has led me to want to serve in a political field. I ran for city council recently, actually in 2021, and it opened my eyes to a world that I had never thought people would be so vicious. However, it didn't stop me, it didn't deter me, because I'm on assignment and I know my purpose is to serve, and that's what I continue to do.
Wow, love it. So here's my question then, is why do you choose to help others become successful?
I think that we're all on assignment. We have roles that we have to play. I'm running my race to pass the baton on to other people, and I have something within myself that I have to give others so that they can run their race and be successful, because we're all part of the greater society. And until we're all in our ordained positions, then our society can't move forward in a positive and progressive way.
And that makes total sense. Because now I know when people are called to serve people, they have a certain hope that they have, right? Because they have a reason why they're doing this. My question to you is then, what is your biggest hope and passing the baton to the next person?
My hope is that anyone that I come in contact with realizes that they have everything they need within themselves to be successful. They have everything that they need within themselves to change their community. They have everything within themselves to change their city. And then we all together have within ourselves ways to change our society through education, through healthcare, through housing, through financing.
Nice. Got you. And the thing is, because everybody else see like, okay, so she has a plan, right? So how do you plan on doing that?
Again, through my nonprofit, through educating young people, by educating older people, going out there and being part of causes that I lend my voice to, animal rights, breast cancer, cancer in general, and just causes that really help people in a way that proves to them that together we can create a positive and hopeful world instead of what we've been seeing recently.
I am with you on that. And ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from her. You know, you heard why she want to help people be successful. You heard her plan. So with that being said, bring us to the stage, talking about I am on assignment and so are you, is Sheba Simpson, Amsterdam.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Sheba Simpson, Amsterdam. I'm so happy that you chose to spend this time with me. I want you to know that each of us is born with a unique and innate talents to complete our earthly assignments and to make positive change in society. For me, it took me a long time to understand what an earthly assignment was. I thought growing up in poverty, you go up, you get educated, you get a job, you make sure that your family is taken care of, and you make sure that you do right by others so that you could have a quality of life. But so many times as I went through life, I was scared, confused, angry, because I felt that I was doing everything right and I still kept hitting the wall. Many times I would choose professions just so I could maintain food on the table, pay my bills, make sure that my children were safe. And again, I felt like I was going around and around on a hamster wheel. Silently within my soul, I felt empty. And as a spiritual person, I couldn't understand why I felt empty. Again, I went back to my childhood and I kept hearing my mother's voice telling me, you better get an education. You better make something of yourself. You better do some good in this world. But she never explained to me what doing good in this world meant other than getting an education, going to school, teaching my children to be good people. And again, I kept hitting this wall. Then I saw other people living lives that was glamorous, and I wanted that life. But I knew the jobs that I had, I couldn't be a glamour girl. I wanted the glamour. I wanted the lights. I wanted the shiny new cars, and I wanted to go on the trips. But again, something inside of me just wouldn't let me be the status quo. Something kept saying to me, you're not doing what I told you to do. And every time you don't, something's going to happen. I'm not sure if you or someone you know has experienced these thoughts. But I'm here again to tell you that each of us are born with unique and innate talents to complete our earthly assignments and make positive change in our society. How do I know that? Because finally I got the message. And I realized that my earthly assignment is to be of service to others. For over 20 something years now, I have been an educator, but a mother first and a teacher first to my children. I've served my community. I've done what I need to do when it comes to voting. And I finally found my niche. I finally found that I have this unique ability to connect to people. And so here I am today, about to share some tips that you may use to help you find your earthly purpose. Again, I'm Sheba Simpson, and we are all on assignment. Discovering your assignment, how to find the talents that you possess naturally to change the world. The first tip I have for you is to pay attention to what you're good at. If there is something you are always praised for, chances are it's one of your skills or talents. Are you a great cook? Are you a great mathematician? Are you able to connect to people? Are you someone that when you walk into a room, people want to know who you are? People listen to you? If that is so, then you definitely have that talent and you need to build upon it. My second tip, ask other people. Sometimes other people see our skills and talents more clearly than we see ourselves. So if you're not sure of what yours are, ask a friend, someone you respect, because we all know we have those haters, or ask a family member for their opinion. Those who want to see you successful will always come to your aid. They will give you what you may not give yourself. I know it was true for me. People always tell me, how are you able to say certain things to people without them being angry? How are you able to connect people who would ordinarily not speak to one another? And my response is, it's just who I am. Because again, we're all on assignment, and I am on assignment to connect other people. I call myself the connector because when I see two people who have talent that sometimes they recognize and sometimes they don't, and when I put them together, something magical happens. So stick with me and listen to these other two tips, and let's see if by the end of this presentation, you know your assignment. I apologize. Stick with me. Think about things that make you happy. Even in my mistakes, just like I did just now, I know that I'm on assignment. So, what are the activities that make you lose track of time? These are likely the things you're most talented at. Are you a big advocate for other people who sometimes don't use their voice when wrong has been done to them? Make sure that when you're advocating, that is something that you're also doing for yourself. Don't be afraid to try new things. You never know what skills or talents you may discover you possess until you step out of your comfort zone and try something new. When I was trying to learn how to ride a bike as a child, I failed miserably and I gave up. And you know what? To this day, I still don't know how to ride a bike. So use me as an example. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and fail at something and keep trying until you get better at it. If these tips are something that has inspired you to want to seek out or to complete your earthly assignment, please reach out to me at www.I'monAssignmentInc.com. I again am Sheba Simpson Amsterdam. I'm the CEO and CFO of I'm on Assignment Inc., located in New York, New York. This is my information, and I look forward to connecting with you. And oh, by the way, if being of service to others is something that you want to do, you can also, when you peruse my website, hit the volunteer button, fill out that volunteer sheet. We're always looking for those who want to serve. I'm on assignment, and so are you. Is my upcoming book that will be sold on Amazon.com. Again, find your purpose, live in your truth, and fulfill your earthly assignment so you can pass the baton on to someone else so they can fulfill their assignment. Be blessed, and thank you for watching. I'm Sheba Simpson Amsterdam.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Dan Robinson here, and it's so great to be at SuccessFest with Tracy D. Armstrong. Tracy, come on and tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and what do you do?
Hello, everyone. I am Tracy D. Armstrong, born and raised in Houston, Texas, coming to you from Channelview, Texas, and I am an educator, coach, and motivator.
Nice. You know, Houston's one of my favorite cities. I was just there a couple weeks ago, matter of fact, actually beginning of this month. So great to have you here. First question I have for you. What has been the biggest obstacle you had to overcome?
Well, my biggest obstacle in my life has been overcoming my perspective of myself. I would always judge myself, think that I wasn't good enough. I was raised by a single mom, and so she really, really pushed me to be the best. But with that being said, she never really told me, good job or I'm proud of you. So as I went throughout life, I never really thought that I was good enough at anything that I was doing. So I would doubt myself. I would doubt my dreams. I wouldn't press through until I finally realized that it was me versus me. So that was my biggest obstacle.
Oh man, that is very, very deep. And I'm guessing because you went through that yourself and had to overcome it, this is why you chose to be successful. So can you speak on why do you choose to be successful or help other people be successful?
That is exactly why I choose to help other people become successful, because my purpose in life is to have a positive impact on other people's lives and to help them see past what they see. And with some people, they only see doom and gloom every day, all the time. And so I want them to see further, see that there's more to life than what they see. Because as an educator, I see that a lot with my students. And so when they succeed, I succeed. And it brings me joy to see them overcome those obstacles that hold them back, also, like I did.
Nice, nice. And then once you do all of that, what's your biggest hope for them once they see what they see for themselves?
So my biggest hope in everything that I do, every time that I speak, every message that I put out there, I want my words to inspire hope in people, ignite a fire under them. I want to influence people to change the way that they think. And so I hope to transform minds so that those minds will transform their lives. That is my biggest hope, because when you transform your life, it makes life much more successful.
And you're right about that. You are right about, but before you do anything in life, your mindset has to be set first. So guys, she has so many gems she got to drop, right? This is just a little teaser for you. So stay tuned, because coming to the stage is Tracy D. Armstrong with You versus You. Stop stopping you from your own success.
It is you versus you, and your success is dependent on your perspective of yourself. So, stay broke if you want to. That's up to you. Or live a successful life full of prosperity, thriving and flourishing in everything you desire, because that's up to you too. Your perspective is so powerful that it will propel your life to another level, or it will imprison your life to never excel. Now, if you are someone that allows your past to dictate your future and you are ready to stop stopping your own success, then this message is for you. And it starts with how you view yourself. Now, if you desire to live life and not just exist, you must learn how to check, change, and control your perspective of yourself. Today, we're going to walk through some of the ways that I have learned to control my perspective. I use what's called the 5 W's and the 1 H. Now, understand, I was a writing teacher for a few years, so we use this in class to get a better understanding of what we were doing. And if you use this in your life, it will help you get a better understanding too. Now, the first W is the who. Who controls your perspective? You do. Who controls your success? You do too. And I had to realize this for my life. I had to realize that everything that I wanted started with me going after it and not letting the way I viewed myself stop me. When one of my students said, "Hey, Miss, you should start a podcast," I said, "A podcast?" I had no idea what a podcast was, how a podcast was supposed to be started. I doubted myself. I felt like, who's going to listen to me? What am I really going to say? What are you going to do? I was unknowledgeable of anything that I needed to do. But guess what? Sometimes you have to shut up all of those thoughts in your brain that make you believe that you are less than. And that's what I did. I shut up those thoughts and I started learning about podcasting. I started getting into classes to know exactly what I was doing. And guess what? I started my What's Your Mess podcast earlier this year. But you got to remember, you must know that you have the power to control your perspective of your life. The next W is the what. Get an understanding of what is your perspective of yourself. If you really think about it, do you constantly criticize yourself? Do you frequently compare yourself to others and think less of yourself because you're not on the same level as someone else? Now, I completely understand because I did the same thing for far too long. When I started my all-star cheer and tumbling business, I would constantly put my little gym and my raggedy business down. I would look at the buildings down the street and the other companies and say, man, I wish I had what they had. And it wasn't until one day one of my parents came and said, hey, you are doing an amazing job and you bring a lot of value to my child. This is when I started to realize it wasn't about the size of the building, but the value that I added to my athletes' lives. Sometimes outside people must show you your value before you can see it for yourself. Now, I can tell you how worthy and deserving you are of being successful, but until you perceive it for yourself, your life will never change. So stop stopping your success. And then I reflect on the next W, which is the win. When does my perspective hinder my success? Understanding when your success is hindered by your perspective will tell you when to change your perspective. Now, when you don't do what you know you're supposed to do in order to live a successful life because you underestimate your abilities, then your perspective is hindering your success. When you look at others and you compare yourself to them and you think that you can never be as great or as grand, then your success is being hindered by your perspective. Think about it. What thoughts are stopping you from pursuing your dreams, your visions, and your goals? Because I thought about it and I thought about what was stopping me, and I asked myself the next question: where? Where did this perspective come from? And realizing where it comes from will help you know how to change it. Your perspective of yourself came from somewhere. The way you viewed life from previous experiences and the way it's developed over years. Have you been defeated, overlooked, or misjudged for so many years that you view life from that one perspective of failure? Some of your perspectives and the way you view yourself come from something that someone said to you years ago, and it still sticks in your mind. Now, your perspective of yourself won't get unstuck until you remove those thoughts from your mind. And then the last W is the why. Why is the perspective so important? Your perspective of yourself is so important because it will dictate what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Because if you don't even believe you can do it, you're not even going to try. Therefore, it determines your fate, your finances, and your future success. Now, the H. How do you control your perspective? It all starts right here in your brain with controlling your thoughts. Your thoughts about your past can control your future because it's like you're playing tug of war with your past. You're trying to move forward towards a brighter future, and your past keeps pulling you back into the darkness that you've already escaped. The thoughts that keep telling you you're not good enough. Remember where you came from? Those are the thoughts that you need to recognize and you need to control them. And when they start to rise up, cut the rope. Cut the rope of those thoughts that keep you from moving towards your success. Next, you must control your tongue. Watch what you say about yourself because the words that you say are so powerful. And some of your perspectives are built on what you said or what someone has said to you. You must speak what you desire and expect to achieve it. If you don't want lack, stop speaking lack over your life. And if you want to be successful, start speaking words that line up with what you want. And then next, controlling your team, TEAM. The team you have in your life are the people that you surround yourself with. And it's so important to control who you have and who you allow in your circle, because they will either have a positive impact or a negative impact on your life. You may have to cut some of those people off from your team, especially those that want to keep reminding you of who you used to be. You need to surround yourself with a team of people who will have your best interest in mind, and a team who will be supportive of you as you move towards your success. Now, I know I've laid out a lot, but I leave you with these actionable steps. Always remember to self reflect on your perspective for any situations that you face. Recognize who is in control. That's you. Understand what perspective you have. Know when you need to change it. Realize where does that perspective come from and why it's important to change it. Remember how to change it. Control your thoughts, control your tongue, and control your team. If you do these things, you can stop fighting yourself and get out of your own way for a successful life. Remember, it's you versus you. So stop stopping your success. And if anything that I've said today has been beneficial to your life and you want to get some more motivational moments, remember, I'm Tracy D. Armstrong. You can find me on YouTube and on all social media platforms. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrea Dotson, affectionately known as Lady Felicia. I am a life coach, certified, and a certified Christian counselor. As you heard, I'm a helper. I'm always helping everyone else. I'm a fixer, and I get paid to do it most times. This makes me driven, determined, and purposed to do my best and be the best and give my best to those I'm called to serve. It takes over me and envelops me when I do it. I oftentimes call self-amnesia. You know, when I forget all about me. How many have been in that situation where you forget all about you? I get so caught and so focused on helping others at times that I forget about me. It's so much so that it is what wet is to water. It's my breath helping people. It's ingrained in me, and it brings me joy to see the results that others get when I'm able to assist them in life. When others are empowered, equipped, and ejected from this thing that holds them back to that thing that makes them free, it makes me know that is what I am made to do. It rewards me to see people's success and triumphs. But in my helping, sharing, doing, caring, and creating spaces and opportunities for others to be great, oftentimes I've lost myself. I get more involved, inundated, enamored with the success of others that I forget about me. I bury me in helping others at times. And then sometimes I don't even know that I'm lost until I'm awakened with the question of, how did I get here? I know there's more. Why am I here? Who am I now? And how do I get back to the true and authentic me? What I found is that it's dangerous to lose you while doing what you are called and purposed to do in life. But it's important to remember that we have purpose and that we are the vessel being used by God. And yet we must be properly cared for in order to be an effective, viable help to others. We must love on ourselves. And that is part of our success in life. Loving ourselves, it is a path that we all must take. Because if we're not good, if I'm not good, if I'm depleted, if I'm run down and I'm burned out, what I'm offering, gifting, pouring won't be good, effective, or usable to anyone else. So I have to stop, sit, search, and then evaluate and determine what is needed for this vessel to forge forward and determine where exactly it is that I need to be and what I need to do next to take care of me, to love on me, to replenish, refresh, and be restored through loving on myself. This in turn will produce the discipline, the routine, the care that I need to get back to serving and helping others from a pure place. I have to get proper rest. I have to eat well, be nurtured, feed my mind, body, soul, and spirit in a healthy and holistic way. So I can bring my best to give you the best so that you can become the best of you. What I give comes from me, but I have to love on me. If I don't love on me in the midst of taking care of myself and helping others and serving, then I become depleted. It's like a car that runs out of gas. It can only run on E for so long before it breaks down. We too, as people, must make sure that we don't run on fumes. We don't burn out, and we are taking care of ourselves. Self-love, because it is a component to becoming successful, it is highly important that we do it. It is not selfish to take care of you. It is not selfish to love on you. It is not selfish to make sure that you get what you need to be refilled, replenished, restored, and revived. When starting to love on you, what that looks like at times is making sure that you have peace, that you have joy, that you're getting rest, you're well-rounded, you laugh often, your core values are in order. And in short, making you a top priority to be taken care of. It is the place where you're on the plane and the flight attendant says, in the case of an emergency, the oxygen mask will fall first to you, and you have to put it on you, because if you're not here anymore, self-love is the oxygen mask that must go on you first. Because if you're not here and you're not well taken care of, then you can't breathe and you can't be alive to take care of the next person, to take care of your purpose, to walk in the calling wherewith you have been called to. For me, I need one day a week to care about me, to love on me, to make everything just about me. Sounds selfish? It's not. It is making sure that my very well-being is intact. When I'm not okay, I can't fully show up, serve, and speak to the greatness in you from the greatness in me. Self-care should also produce and reproduce determination to continue the discipline of self-love. And that determination comes from within. It is the decision, a decision that you deserve love, you need love, and the self that you are is not quite satisfied with what you're getting right now. It's not quite satisfied with what it sees, wants, craves, and desires. And you want more. And guess what? You're entitled and you deserve more. How does that look for you? Determining how self-love looks for you is very important. Now that we know how self-love looks and what is the definition, it's time to show up for you. It's time to take you on a date. It's time to take you to dinner. It's time to go try something new just for you. For some, it looks like counseling and therapy to heal the past wounds. One of the components of authentic success is going through the process of healing so that you can love yourself. I've done it and I'll do it again at any given moment. Another component to having the success of self-love is making sure that you produce a discipline when it comes to self-love. How does that look, Lady Felicia? It looks like you creating a routine, a regimen, a schedule. Yes, schedule time for you. And if you're a person who doesn't like being alone, consider spending time with God. Consider inviting a friend every now and then, whether it's weekly, monthly, or daily. 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 2 hours a week, or 10 hours a month. You're important enough and you deserve self-love, because the self-love that you give yourself today is going to determine the success that you see tomorrow as you pour from a full cup of love. Hello, everyone. I'm Coach Lady Felicia, your self-love coach. Today, we are talking about dead or alive. You can't be both. If you would, pinch yourself. A little bit harder. A little bit harder. You're alive. You felt that, right? Are you sure? You sure? Okay. Yes, you are. Well, you can't be alive and dead, and you can't be dead and alive at the same time. Listen, when you decide not to take care of you and love on you explicitly, when you neglect yourself, you begin to die slowly. Your true self begins to fade into the labels, into the titles of who you believe that you are. When we place others above ourselves, we are literally watching as we fade into the background. We watch as we become someone that we don't even know. A different person, a different self. It is as if you are seeing yourself laying on the floor, choking. And guess what? Serving others above yourself, helping others above yourself is you stepping over your choking self and leaving you to die. Well, it's time out for that. It's time out for putting everybody else above ourselves. It's time out for allowing other things to come before our own well-being. It is time for us to live. It is time for us to love on ourselves. Now is the time to wake up and pay attention to what needs attention in us, for us, concerning us, and get back to our original self. Well, today, a few things we're going to talk about are the components of self-love, the definition of self-love, and some questions you can ask yourself to determine exactly what it is you want, need, or desire to love on yourself. Well, let's talk about the definition of self-love. According to the dictionary and what I looked up on Google, it says self-love is the regard for one's own well-being and happiness, a desired trait, Well, you don't have to desire it anymore. We're going to go after it. But my definition is this. It is the ability to choose oneself and well-being mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, and physically overall, so that then we can turn around and serve those that we love and give love to those that we serve. It's your choice. You can make it. You can choose to do CPR, which is self-love, on yourself, the Heimlich maneuver on yourself, which is self-love, to make sure that you are no longer laying in the middle of the floor, choking and dying. Listen, self-love is not arrogance. It's not conceited. It's not pride. But what I found that self-love really is, for me, it's humility in action. It is self-awareness, being aware of who I am, being aware of where I am, being aware of who's around me and how they impact me, how what they say or what they have to say or have said in even past times affects me or impacts me. It is self-reflection. It is looking at myself and seeing the growth in me, seeing the areas, the weaknesses in me that I desire to work on, that I need to work on, so that I can be a healthier me, a more whole me, be a better person, so that when I serve from that place of wholeness and healthiness. And not just that, but also from a place of purity, because I have integrity inside of that self-love. I have standards, I have morals, I have core values that I leave up and no one can penetrate or take me down from them. That is self-love. And also making sure that I'm accepting me in all my curves and all the blemishes and all the faults and failures that I have, knowing that all of those things make up the wonderfulness, the greatness of me. And you too can as well look and reflect and see who you are. Be self-aware and know that no one can stop you from loving you but you. Now, let's talk about 3 key components of self-love that makes you know and will identify if you need life support, if you need CPR, if you need a breathing treatment called self-love, or if you're alive and well and just need a discipline and regimen and a routine. All right. The first one is recognize that you have a need and what area you have a need for self-love. What do you mean? What I mean is there are times when I feel my peace is disrupted. So my self-love regimen is either take a ride, schedule a massage, or find a place where I can just sit and read a book, listen to music, and just be with me, center myself, align myself with God, align myself with peace, get back to a place of peace. So whatever area you need to reignite, refresh, replenish, or revive that self-love, recognize where it is, what it is, and how you can get back there. The next part is to rearrange your thoughts, because thoughts bring change, whether it's to the good or to the bad. So whatever you think of yourself, either you're killing yourself softly or you're encouraging yourself daily. So what does that look like? That looks like getting in the mirror and saying to yourself, you're beautiful, you're handsome, you're lovely. It looks like when the negative thoughts come from your childhood, from a relationship that says you're not good enough, you don't have enough, you'll never be enough. You cancel out those thoughts and you open your mouth and you speak something positive. You rearrange your thought process, and that comes with discipline, that comes with consistency, that comes with even you can, if you aren't confident enough yet to say it out loud, then at least write it. Grab a notepad, grab a recorder on your phone, grab something that you can transfer it from your heart to paper, from your heart to the computer, from your heart to the voice message. And if you record it on a voice message, you can always play it back. That way, until you get comfortable and confident, you're still speaking to yourself. So you can say, you can make it, you're okay, you're fine, you're great, you're the greatest you there will ever be. There will never be another like you. Rearrange your thoughts about yourself from negative to positive. Then number three, a third key component is remembering to love on you in all you do. So whether you're at the grocery store, make sure that you're in a space and a place of positive thoughts. So if those thoughts are coming like, how can I afford this? Or what am I doing here? Or anything negative, even if you're passing by somebody, I've heard this many times as a counselor, they were looking at me as if, or they were laughing at me. You don't know that. So rearranging your thoughts and remembering to be in that space and place of self-love will help you remember to be about you in that moment and making sure that positivity stays around you, that peace stays around you. And loving you teaches others how to love you too. Now, the next part, there's 5 questions that I want you to ask yourself to determine your need for self-love. Yes, 5 questions. These aren't the only ones, but these are ones that I've asked myself quite often and gotten the answers to, and I use them whenever I'm feeling in that place of contention, strife, anxiety, or anything to the negative. Let's go into them. The first one is, are you happy? Are you happy? Do you need something to be happening for you to be happy? That's part B of number one. So part A is, are you happy? Part B is, do you need something happening to be happy? What I found about happiness is this: it's a choice. When I'm in a situation or a circumstance, I can either choose to succumb to the negativity that's going on at that particular time, or I can choose to do like the Word of God says, to think myself happy. Well, how would I do that? And someone's yelling and screaming at me. Well, I've done it. I've been standing before a person who's accusing me and maybe saying very foul language to me, but in my mind, I'm not taking in the trash that they're throwing out. But instead, in my mind, what I'm doing is I'm thinking about, you know what? They're hurt. They're in a place of pain, and I choose not to participate in bringing more hurt and more pain to them. So what I'm going to think about is, how can I help them? How can I be a blessing to them? Or I'm going to walk away. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to remain standing. I'm not going to go down, but I'm going to be up. And then I'm going to leave with what I came with, and that is my peace. So make sure that you don't always need something happening to be happy, because that place means that you want to be entertained. And we don't need to be entertained, but we need to be educated so that we can educate others. And that is another part of self-love. All right. Question 2. When you are done talking, doing, being, fulfilling, how do you feel? Does it make you feel like, oh, I want to do this again? Yes, yes, yes. That was so great. I love to see people blessed. Or was it taxing? Was it like, I don't want to do this no more? Why am I here? What am I doing? Look at what you're doing, why you're doing it, the place and posture that you're doing it from, and what has motivated or gotten you to that place to even do it. Are you serving from that place of gratitude, or are you serving from a place with an attitude? Gratitude or attitude? How do you feel when you're serving, when you're doing, when you're on assignment and you've done what you were asked or called to do? Even in conversation, when you're talking to someone and you're done talking to them, did that conversation make you feel a way or some kind of way, as they say? Or do you feel better? Do you feel relieved? Do you feel more peace? Did it add to you, or did it take away from you? Did it shift you from, yes, hello, how are you, to, oh my God, why did I even take that call? Those are components of loving on you. Sometimes you have to let the phone ring and not answer it. Sometimes you have to say, no, not today. Sometimes you have to say, I'm not in a place, I'm not in a posture to serve right now. So please excuse me. Thank you, but no thank you. Number 3. Now we're asking questions to determine your need for self-love, okay? Number 3, how long has it been since you felt you were living the life you desired? How long has it been? Has it been days? Has it been weeks? Has it been months? Oh, God forbid, has it been years since it felt like you're living the life that you desire to live? Well, what does that look like, Lady Felicia? What it looks like is you're happy with waking up and doing what you get to do every day. You're happy with serving who you're called to serve when you're called to serve them. You don't have a problem with it. You're not trying to find a way to get out of it. You're not making up excuses or telling lies because you really don't want to do it. Versus, you know what? Remembering that you get to choose what you do with your life. You get to choose who you allow in your space and in your circle. You get to choose who you talk to on your phone that you pay the bill for. That is part of self-love. Do you need to exact some of that in your life? All right. Number 4, when was the last time you did something just for you, just to make you smile? It could have been buy you a piece of cake. It could have been just walking up and down the aisles of Macy's. It could have been taking a trip. It could have been just sitting in the middle of the bed, eating out of the ice cream carton, whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you smile. It could have been binge watching your favorite TV show or watching Hallmark Channel back to back to back. Whatever makes you smile. When was the last time you chose to do that? You made time to do that. You even wanted or thought about doing it. Sometimes we don't even think about ourselves. We don't even think about what it is that we need to do for us. So when was the last time you loved on you? All right, the 5th question is, what last made you laugh until your belly hurt? Smile till your cheeks hurt? Feel excited just at the thought of it? There's been moments where maybe I was with a friend and they said something really funny in our conversation. And later on, it came up in my mind and it just made me laugh hard all over again. Having those type of relationships that can foster thoughts of positivity that will make you laugh even when you're no longer in their presence. Those are the things that help us love on ourselves. When was the last time you watched a movie or heard a comedian that made you just laugh and laugh and laugh? Listen, I've laughed sometimes till I fell off the chair. That's how funny it was to me. So when have you been able to do that in your life? Think back, reflect, remember, and if you haven't, find out. Figure out exactly what it is that would make you laugh so hard that you would potentially fall off your seat. What would make you smile so hard for so long that by the time you finish, you're like, oh my God, my cheeks hurt. I just do, what happened? That is self-love. That is taking care of you. Don't let anybody tell you any different. And then my final thing for today before we leave is I need everyone to figure out what are the things that will cause them to just want to do it more and more and more and more and more and more. Make a list of those places you want to go, those things you want to do, those people even that promote self-love in your life. And if you don't have any, ask for some. Figure out, okay, where are these people in my life? Okay, Lord, who are they? And if you don't have any, Lord, send me friends that foster, encourage, and will help me to love on myself because they understand the value of self-love and they too promote it and do it. And then I want you, the final thing, I not just want you, I need you to get out your calendar, get out your phone, whatever you use to record your appointments and events and all that stuff. We make time for the doctor, we make time for bad news, we make time for everything and everybody else. Now is the time to schedule you. I want you to take one moment, just 10 minutes, and put into your calendar for 2023 and every year thereafter, time for you. You can call it the just for me time. You can call it the learning me time. You can call it the loving on me time, whatever comes to mind for you. But you make a standing appointment with you to take care of you, to put the oxygen mask on you, to give CPR to your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit. It's time. It's past time. And that is overdue to love on you, take care of you, and know more about you. Because with each changing season and time of our lives, whether we're turning 20, 30, 40, 50, or 60, or even 70 or 80, we are not the person we were 1 year, 5 years, 10 years ago. And we need to learn ourselves over and over again constantly. And through self-love and self-care, that is how you will get to know who you are, where you are at this point in your life. I hope that this has helped you. Have an amazing rest of your day.
Good day, everyone. I'm Dr. Pamela Hall, also known as Dr. Ye, and I am here to talk to you today about sex. Sex. I said sex. Why did I start off whispering that word? Because oftentimes when we think about sex, we usually speak about it in secret. It's usually a taboo. Even though America is a major consumer of all things dealing with sex, when it comes to having a serious conversation about it, we get a little timid. So I'm here to talk today about sex, and not just any kind of sex, the ultimate of sex and the ultimate of orgasm. Did you know that there are 3 types of orgasms? There's the little boy, little girl orgasm, which deals with genital stimulation. Then there's the teenager orgasm that deals with penile penetration. And then there is the adult orgasm, grown folk orgasm, which is tantric, which is energetic, which is orgasm that does not need penetration, that doesn't even need touch in order to occur. Is that even possible? You might be wondering. Yes, it is.
Now, let me tell you a little bit about Tantra. Tantra is an energetic healing system that dates back to the 7th century and has its roots in Hinduism and Buddhism. Tantra involves things such as meditation and mantras and even yoga. But I'm here to talk about the energetic form of Tantra, which leads to experiencing bliss. Now, bliss is a state that we were originally created in, naked and not ashamed. No matter which doctrine you prescribe to, everything starts out pretty much the same. They were naked and they weren't ashamed. But somewhere along the line, we became ashamed. Somewhere along the line, we began to kind of pervert, for lack of a better word, sex. And we began to use it as a means of introducing trauma. And by that, I mean rape, molestation, abuse. Now, in full disclosure, they say most great healers became healers because they needed to be healed themselves. Well, I was one of those healers. That was how I got into Chinese medicine. And Chinese medicine involves acupuncture and Chinese medical herbs. So I tell people, I stab people for a living and they pay me to do it and they feel good afterwards. But what got me into Chinese medicine was actually my studies of Tantra. Believe it or not, they're very similar when dealing with the meridian pathways, which are pathways within our bodies that run alongside of our veins and our corpuscles. And it helps with the smooth flow of chi or energy and blood. Now, I was sexually abused as a child for years by older family members. So that is what got me into this, because it perverted my view of sex. It perverted my view of relationships. And a lot of times when children experience sexual trauma, and in the US, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 4 boys have experienced some form of sexual trauma by the time they are adults. That's a lot of people. And that's just of those cases that are reported. So you can imagine how high the numbers actually are. And so when you take those traumatized little girls and traumatized little boys and you turn them into adults and expect them to enter into healthy relationships, well, everyone is pretty much starting out at a deficit. When I came into the knowledge of this energetic system, it was at a time I had gone through a messy divorce and was having all kinds of relationship issues. And someone told me about tantric energy healing and how it heals you in a gentle way. Gentle in the sense that you don't have to take your clothes off. There is no sexual penetration. There is no invasive touch. It's just energy healing. And it brings you to a state of bliss, which is how we were actually created to be. So I tell people Tantra isn't so much what you do, but Tantra is about who you are. So in this practice, we bring you back to who you actually are. So what is energy? Energy is defined as the strength and vitality required to sustain physical and mental activity. Spiritual energy, or energetic in this sense, is defined as experiences and phenomena that defy measurement, thus making it distinguishable from the scientific form of energy. This energy system, this healing system, deals with, as I describe it to some people who are pretty, heavily religious, because, we've been conditioned to think that anything that we're not familiar with is somehow evil and ungodly and all of these different things. And I can tell you that it is not. In fact, to all of my religious people out there, Tantra is in the Bible. It is located in the Song of Solomon, which is one of the most titillating 16th century soft pornographic writings that you can write. I was surprised that it even made it into the Bible when I first read the Song of Solomon. But once you study and you learn the techniques, then you can read and see where and how it was utilized by King Solomon, who in tantric circles is known as the ultimate tantric. So who is Tantra for? Tantric energy is for everyone, not just those who need to be healed or desire to be healed, but those who want to maintain the health that they already possess. And definitely for all of those who want to enter into relationships, however you define those relationship dynamics to be. How does it work? It's dealing with, as I said before, the meridian pathways that are within the body. There are a system of pathways, 14 actually. And this is how it kind of comes into play with Chinese medicine and acupuncture and acupressure, because you're gently laying hands on specific points on the body to effectuate change at the physical, mental, and emotional and energetic levels. And the cool thing about it is once you get to the higher levels, because there are levels to this, once you get to higher levels, then you learn how to project your energy to your partner to bring them to a full-bodied energetic orgasm without even touching them. They don't have to be in the same room. They don't even have to be in the same state. I personally, and my students tell me, they call me the beast master. They say I create beasts. But I have personally projected tantric energy as far as some of our men who were stationed in the army and bases in South Korea. And they felt the energy flowing through their body. Some people feel like electrical stimulation pulses all over. Some people experience warmth, but what all people experience is healing and bliss. It heals you at the deepest levels, at the deepest levels. And this is why I enjoy this. I was about to call it medicine, but yes, medicine. I believe, as I've been taught by the founders of my university, my alma mater, that medicine is whatever helps. And as a young African-American woman or child who was the victim of years of sexual abuse, as well as physical abuse and verbal abuse, this has done wonders for me and for my relationships, and just becoming a healing presence for others. And Tantra, I teach my students, it's not about sex. In fact, in my classes, there's no sex allowed. There's no sex allowed, because I understand that people are coming, and yes, they're bringing their curiosity, but they're also bringing their traumas. And it is my goal for you to heal. And as I said, once you heal, bliss is a natural way of being. And sexual bliss, intimacy and bliss is a natural byproduct of healing. Because again, Tantra is not so much what you do. Tantra is a way of life, and it is who you are. I invite you, wherever you are, to delve into it, do your own research. You can reach out to me. I'm Dr. Pamela Hall, also known on social media as Dr. Ye Wong. I'm here to help you, to teach you, to lead you, to guide you back to being the blissful being that you were ultimately created to be. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.
All right, welcome in, welcome in. I am so excited that you're here. But first off, I want you to tell people, who are you and what's your point of expertise? What are you here to empower other people with?
I am Melody R. Smith-Riggins, better known as Coach Melody R., the forwardologist. And I'm here as a life coach, business Christian coach. Pretty much my thing for people is basically it's just life, living. And basically the things that I've been through in life has called me. And I know this has been my calling, my purpose since birth. This is what I was called to do. It's just not something that I just stepped into. It's just something I'm very passionate about. And it's what I was called to do. And, you know, my background is basically the things that I've gone through, the things that I've overcome. And I know that I am what I call a life survivor. So my goal is to help others survive the obstacles that they have gone through and the obstacles that they may face.
Oh my God, that is something that I think is most needed for people to like move forward in life, right? And so during Success Fest, like what is it that you, I would say, want to really focus on, or that pivotal point in your life that really kind of changed things to bring you to today?
Well, that point would be, for so many years, I lived in the shadow of myself. And so many years, I lived the story that everyone else had written for me, never living the story for myself. He really is and who she was